Hello and welcome to the Horror Screams Video Vault podcast, episode 31. Blimey. We've almost been doing this for 3 years now. Astonishing. So thanks for joining us. And we are here today to talk about the Creepshow movies, amongst other things. And I'm Stephen, and I'm joined by a couple of familiar faces. Not that you can see their faces, sadly. Sarah, hello. How's it going?
It's going okay, thank you. I have been better, though. It's been far too hot.
It's been really hot, isn't it? Yeah, jeez.
Wow. We don't hot over here.
Is it 40 degrees? Did it get as far as 40 in the end? It felt like it.
Yeah.
It was 40.3 in Huddersfield.
What were you doing in Huddersfield, man?
Me? I was, so that's why I got so hot.
Networking.
I was walking around, t-shirt off, and
wow.
It's because I'm just so white. That's the sun's just reflecting off me.
Reflecting off everyone.
Yes.
Apart from my farmer's tan, that's about it. That's about as tanned as I get.
What's a farmer's tan? Is that like
a
something sexual?
Tan, it can be. A farmer's tan is where basically you have a t-shirt or a shirt on, and the only bit that gets tanned is like your neckline and your arms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sarah's probably got a farmer's tan as well, because she's usually outside.
I'm definitely rocking the classic farmer's tan for sure.
There you go.
Yeah,
I
never
don't know,
thought
Sarah.
about that.
We had to help these city folk learn.
Urbanites. Yeah, that makes sense. I never thought about farmers going brown, but that explains a lot. Like,
that's a whole different scenario.
Not racist, by the way. That explains a lot. Yeah, because there is things you don't think about, do you? Like, well, you just assume things like farmers are brown, dad's got a brown willy for some reason. You just don't think about what the background of that might be. Yeah, it makes sense.
Just accept it.
You do, yes.
It's what Stephen's dad said.
You've seen my dad recently? Wow. He said he was going away for a couple of days.
Yeah, he's in Huddersfield.
Oh, Huddersfield. So Huddersfield's become this hotbed of literally hotbed. Wow, this has really put Huddersfield on the map, although I dare say it's probably on a map of some kind. Where is Huddersfield? How do I get there? Not that I'm going there. I mean, it's just asking for a friend.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yes. Is it near Hull? I've been to Hull. I went on that bridge, wherever that is. Is there a bridge in Hull? I'm a bit vague.
So you want to go to Hull, but you also don't want to know where a bridge is. Welcome to The British Aren't Really Clocked In on what is actually in their own country.
We know where everything is.
Where is the train station?
Oh dear.
Ask for directions. It's ridiculous, isn't it? You've lost concentration straight away. Where? I'm looking for Albion Court. Oh yeah. Well, you know that bit there. Yeah, I've already switched off. Carry on. You turn left, go up past the height. Yeah. Oh, pretty clouds.
No, it's the people that you'll go, excuse me, mate, or mate, excuse me, mate, can you help me with directions? And they go, oh yeah, I've heard of that. Let me have a think.
Left or right?
And they stand there for 5 minutes and then go, actually, I can't help you. Wow, that was very useful to you, thank you.
Yeah, they're useless, aren't they? Yeah, don't trust them. They send you up some dark alley in Huddersfield somewhere and you'll be molested. Yeah. Oh well. And we're also joined by Peter Hopkins, Esquire.
Hello,
Hi,
Esquire.
Pete.
Yes.
How's it going?
I've always well standings.
Oh yeah, that's really quite sexy actually. Thanks for joining us. And
you're welcome.
How's it all going with your big bad bearded self?
Me? Okay, I'm enjoying this cool breeze that's coming through my abode. The windows are open. The cold, wet rain is coming down. Not that dry rain. That wet rain's coming down.
Dry rain's the worst. Blimey, gives you eczema.
As I was saying to Sarah before we started recording, the trouble is that you two are on the eastern side of the country, so you will get the heat wave first.
Yep, we invented it. Yeah, it came. Yep, we created it.
And we never get the rain.
No.
Oh, Lorraine.
That's quite nice.
It is nice now, isn't it? Oh, it was bad. It was bad tidings. Yeah, it was the old climate change. Yeah.
I guess if nobody's actually listened to this podcast before and they've always heard the rumour of British people always moan about the weather. This is that podcast.
Bloody weather. I mean, it's too hot, it's too cold when it's cold. Too dry, too
wet.
wet.
Oh, what the hell?
Wrong kind of snow.
Can't listen to a single British podcast without them mentioning the weather.
Yeah.
Or there's that. Who's that? What at what age? Because I'm a bit worried that I'll be this person soon. But at what age do you start saying, "Oh, hot enough for you"? What the fuck? What? Can you make it hotter? Can you?
Do you say that to your neighbours?
No, but I'm worried I'm going to start because there's nothing else to say. Is there? I get why people do because there's nothing else to say.
It depends on what you do. I mean, if you're looking
Cold
at your
enough
neighbour's
for you?
fence and they're out in their bikini, you're like, and if you go hot enough for you, then don't look at the guy looking at you as well, because that's just it gets weird then.
Oh, that guy that wears the bikini. Yeah, he's not really
Yeah.
got the body for it either, has he?
No,
Ridiculous.
just all hanging out.
Could put that over his shoulder.
Put what over his shoulder?
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant Ricardo. Oh, you don't live here.
Ah, Ricardo!
Ricardo!
Me and my mush is long.
Yeah. No, it is. That's all we've got to say because there's nothing else to say really, is there?
There's nothing else to talk
A
about.
bus stop, 11 o'clock at night.
What was this episode about?
Except how much? Oh yes, the episode. Welcome to episode 31. Lucky 31. We'll be talking about the CREEPSHOW films. At least two of them. And yes, we'll be having a delightful nostalgic rumble through those. But first, of course, not the weather, of course, that's nonsense, isn't it? We'll be talking about what we've recently seen. So Sarah, in fact, should we come to you first? What have you seen since we last recorded, which actually was quite a while ago, I think?
It feels like it was ages and ages ago. I've seen quite a bit. But firstly, I meant to do this last month and I didn't because we kind of ran out of time. But I need to kind of do a bit of a shout out to some friends. It's to Dan P at Horror Punk's Not Dead. To kind of like get it out there a bit more. It's becoming like a very, very popular horror punk radio show. So he's gone onto podcasts now and he does a weekly podcast radio show with his co-host Finn Fiendish, and every week they're playing like all kinds of like horror punk, new bands, old bands, kind of psychobilly things that are just basically horror related and cool. So they play a lot of that. They're also kind of like branching out into doing interviews as well. So they're doing a radio show one week and then they're doing interviews the next week. So they do that on YouTube. You get to see everyone's faces and they talk to like up and coming bands and stuff. And it's like all kicking off for them. It's all doing really well. And I thought they deserved a bit of a shout out on this one. So, hey guys, keep up the good work.
Hey, so just a question. So because I genuinely don't know. So I know it's a podcast as well, but how does a radio show work these days? How do you listen to a radio show, or is it only through podcast form or through a website?
It's they go through Linktree, so they do it all kind of that kind of way and put a radio show together. Dan's done radio shows like for quite a long time over the years and stuff. But he used to work for Moshville Radio, which is an online radio station. There's so many online stations and stuff now. They work basically kind of the same way as normal radio stations do. Just pick them up on Tinternet. Yeah,
that's cool. But it is a podcast as well, so you can get it from like the usual providers.
All the providers and stuff. He's out there. Just check him out just look for him on Facebook, Horror Punk's Not Dead.
Horror Punk's Not Dead.
And Linktree is Horror Punk Is Not Dead.
It's amazing. That's cool. Because like when I remember ages ago, like years when I first had an iPod. Shit, that's a long time ago. I remember finding Rue Morgue, the Rue Morgue magazine, but they had their own podcast and they had a music one, entirely music. And that's how I kind of listened to a lot of psychobilly for the first time, or horror punk or whatever.
Yeah.
And back then there wasn't many around like that. So that's cool that they have their own.
Kind of feel nice. Like the scene kind of dropped out, or it did for me, because I kind of just lost kind of touch with it. I remember some bands, AFI and the Horror Pops and stuff like that.
Oh, I love the Horror Pops. AFI were fun, yeah.
They're still going through this show and stuff, and there's still lots out there. He's kind of found himself like a little gap in the market because there isn't really a huge outlet for the bands and stuff. But yeah, there's so much out there now, and like some of it coming through is really good. Some of it is kind of like your kind of generic stuff like Misfits, Wannabes and stuff, but then you get like the kind of heavier edge, the more
there's so many
stuff. Yeah, there's so much out there. There's so many different kind of like subcultures within the genre and stuff that I'd not discovered until I started listening to this, and I've been listening to it every week ever since they started, and I'm always finding something that I'm like, oh, I've got to listen to more of that. There are so many like bands that are like doing Evil Dead type-esque songs and stuff, you know, songs that still about Bruce Campbell and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, there is. I really like the Brains. Are they still going? The Brains were a really fun one.
Yeah.
There was an Australian one. I forgot what they're called, but yeah, you're right. There's loads, and geez, AFI. I think I was buying their CDs in like 19 something.
Yeah, mid-90s to late 90s. Yeah.
And I did always. I mean, we talked about this a bit before in the before the show, but I always like the kind of old Misfits. So they're just fun, aren't they? They're just fun, fun to have in the background. Wednesday 13, does he count or they count?
Yeah, I'm sure he's
Murder Dolls was before.
Yeah, Murder Dolls probably a little bit heavy, but he does play some Wednesday 13.
I love Wednesday 13. Nice, excellent. Yeah, check them out. That's a really good recommend, actually. Yes. What else have you seen or heard, Sarah?
I recently watched the new Candyman.
Wow, this is the first time you watched it. Wow, man.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it before, albeit I was a little bit distracted because I was kind of like trying to do other stuff at the same time, so I possibly didn't give it the concentration I really should have done. Because sometimes I looked up, I was like, what the hell's going on now? So yeah, I probably should have given it a bit more concentration. But I enjoyed it. I thought the effects were good. I love Coleman Domingo. I think
great. Yeah.
I quite liked the main character. The only thing that kind of let it down a bit was that there wasn't enough Tony Todd for me. Literally just kind of pops up at the end.
Yep.
I didn't overly mind that. I thought it was quite a nice little.
I loved that. Yeah.
I like the ending.
I thought the ending was everything. I totally get what you mean in terms of if you're looking for a bit of Tony Todd action, who isn't?
Yeah.
Then it's not going to fill your bag or whatever you're holding. But yeah, no, I thought the ending made it. There was a point, I don't want to give it away, but the very last line, I thought, wow, it all makes sense. Yes, this is it. It totally fucking makes sense.
Wrap up.
And I thought it was such a great, because the whole thing is about storytelling and tied in so well with the first one and the original story, The Forbidden, and thus I kind of forgave it for the fact that, well, yeah, Tony Todd can only appear in this form in that one moment, as you said at the very end, when it all fits together. But at the same time, I know what you mean. Tony Todd is a magnificent presence. But he's done his we've been with his Candyman. It's a shame that two of his films weren't very good, but the first one was really, really good. I kind of get it from both ends.
You say not to give it away, but it's that thing, isn't it? Of how long do you classify as giving away something as a spoiler?
Oh yeah, that's ridiculous. Isn't it?
If it's been out for more than a year, then I think
true.
Well, sod it. You've probably read about it on the internet somewhere by now.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Like in the past, we never, if obviously we didn't have the internet at some point, but in the past, when people were chatting, I don't know, at a bus stop or something, we didn't think, before I say anything about Jaws 2, spoiler alert, because I'm a wanker.
As a shot.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, there's even things like, films that are years and years old. Well, I don't want to give it away, but basically she gets possessed by the devil and then she starts wanking with a crucifix. Yeah, no, I thought it was amazing. Repossessed, yes, that's it. Yeah. No, I just thought it was fantastic. And for it to come out, I think it's it's on a par with the original one by easily. The two go together so well, and really beautiful. Like, I love do you remember the opening titles, which is kind of the inversion of the city, isn't it? It's like a reverse shot.
Yes, and then all the, like you say, with the storytelling with the little paper figures and stuff, that's kind of cool.
Oh yes, the cutout, that's really beautiful. And it does have it kind of has the gore, doesn't it? It kind of has there's some really kind of visually quite gruesome stuff in there.
Sure, yeah, when he gets stung on his hand and it starts going all manky and.
Oh, really? Now you're giving it all away.
Yeah.
And then the ending.
The ending? Oh my god!
The ending with Gloria Hunnifoot, that was
Oh no, well, now I definitely want to watch it again. I missed that part.
and she's chuffing herself off. Yeah, the ending's mental. With Thor, I mean, I can't believe they got Crim. Who's Crim?
Crim Hedlund's come up.
Crim. Crim, like Crom, but different. Yes. No, I'm glad you watched it. I mean, did you like it overall? Like I said, I know what you mean.
Really.
It does warrant repeat viewing.
Yeah, I think I need to sit down and give it like a little bit more concentration. But yeah,
Can I just? Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry.
What?
Can I just say the very? This is if you're a knob that might be offended. This is a spoiler, but the very last line. Just correct me if I'm wrong. It's tell everyone, right? Yes. Which is extra. In the cinema, I watched it in the cinema, and it sounds ridiculous and tragic. I'm such a sad fan, but I was like, wow, yes, it makes sense, because all the way through, I wasn't sure where it was going. I knew maybe it was best to not know, but I knew Tony Todd was in it somewhere. But they were very good actually at keeping it quiet, weren't they, about exactly what it was about, how Tony Todd was going to be involved.
Well, he wasn't even mentioned on the IMDb page for at least a good couple of months after the film had come out as well.
Yeah, and it's so good. I mean, it's incredible that this was all. I think it was already made at the point where the whole George Floyd thing happened, but it was just delayed massively by COVID. But everything seems to fit. And the tragic thing, of course, the whole point of the film, I suppose, is that it could come out any year and it would still be relevant, because there'll still be black men like Daniel, Tony Todd's character, or whoever, that are meeting this same fate. Yeah, great.
Yeah, basically, racism will never go away.
Yeah, and the importance of telling the tale, of passing, of whispering in classrooms, so even saying his name 5 times in the movie. The importance of storytelling, which is the whole point. These things exist anyway. Yeah, really good. You're right. Coleman Domingo, really good acting all round, actually. And although he didn't direct it, Jordan Peele wrote it. I've read some fantastic reviews of Nope, which has just been premiered in America, I guess.
Rubbish reviews on that as well.
Really? Oh, wanker. I know the knob from The Guardian gave it 1 star or something, but he's a knob.
Just because
that's the official.
That's official. He's a knob. Yeah, no, I've seen quite. I'm getting really annoyed with the internet at the moment, because everyone's dissing everything, before it's even had a chance.
Don't get me started on Halloween Kills.
That's going on.
Just to have a bit of a name drop thing. Me and Kim Newman were having a bit of a giggle the other day, because something was coming out. I can't remember what was that. There was something coming out that he was involved with. Oh, it's the new Doctor Who set, the Doctor Who 2150 in the Daleks, that set. He did audio commentary for, and it hadn't even come out yet. It was like a good couple months before it came out. And somebody went, worth thing I've ever listened to.
What is the commentary?
It hasn't even come out yet. What are you talking about, you muppet?
Yeah, people are getting too far up their own arse now about stuff like this. There's that. There's Halloween Kills, the Monsters, the Resident Evil series.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned the Monsters. We should have a conversation about that after you both have had your little conversation about what you've watched, because I'm going to upset the internet.
Okay, we'll go back to the Monsters.
I'm keeping my clothes on, everybody. No, don't cry.
Oh, you could at least take that cock sock off.
We'll go back to that.
I'll carry it off. Woohoo! Oh, my eye.
No one.
Sorry, there is no cock sock. Let's continue.
It's putting me off. I'll carry on with what else I've said.
You off?
Carry on. Oh, okay. I'll just mute myself. Carry on.
Okay, next up, I watched a movie on Netflix called Valley of the Dead. Zombie movie. Spanish zombie movie. It's really good fun. It's really well overdubbed for those of you that don't like your subtitles and can't be bothered to read and stuff.
I don't go to the cinema to be in a library. I'm just being that guy.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I go to the cinema to be on my phone and have a conversation with people.
Yeah, I don't need to be having to read stuff whilst I'm looking at my phone. Yeah, this one's actually quite bearable to watch. It's not, some of the overdubs and stuff are just really bad. I'm kind of I'd rather read the subtitles than
Yeah.
with this, but no, this is cool. It's nothing new. It's kind of like your kind of normal bog standard kind of zombie movie, but it's set in the Spanish Civil War in 1938. So they're all in like period costumes and stuff like that. So no like submachine guns and shit like that, you know, all old weapons and stuff like that. I think the pathogen is created by Germans, so it's a kind of Nazi zombie type thing, but it's not a massive emphasis on the Nazis. You just know that the Germans like started off this experiment and stuff, and then once again it's a team of people that go on a mission, inadvertently end up teaming up with some rebels and trying to save the day and stuff. But it has some really good bits. The zombies are cool. It does a lot of tributes and stuff. It does the whole when there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth line and stuff like that. You're kind of like, okay, yeah, that's kind of cool. The characters are likable. It's quite funny. It's quite gory. It's pretty pleasant. I wouldn't say it's anything special, but it was good fun to watch. Cool little Netflix.
Nice. Was it made for Netflix, or have they just kind of picked it up?
I don't know on that one. I'm going to say it's probably been picked up by them. But yeah, that was a good one.
Cool.
And then then sticking with Netflix, I watched the new Resident Evil series. I've never been a massive fan. I'm not a gamer or anything, so I've never really had anything to do with games. I watched a few of the movies, never in any kind of sequence. I thought they were pretty cool. I just like them for the monsters and the zombies and stuff, and I feel like the series is pretty much along those kind of lines. It mentions like the Umbrella Company, Raccoon City, that kind of thing, which I think is all from the games and the movies and stuff. They still have the zombie dogs, they still have zombie people, and they have loads of cool monsters and stuff, but it's about two sisters that have been kind of cloned. Their dad works for the Umbrella Company, and they uncover all these like, you know, shit that's going on when they're trying to like cover up their problems and stuff. So there's a lot of drama going on. There's like kids involved and that kind of thing, but it's not too bad. It's quite entertaining. Once again, though, the episodes are really bloody long. About an hour. Yeah. But I blitzed the whole lot. I think it was 8 episodes, 8 or 9 episodes. I blitzed the whole lot in a weekend, so I didn't find it that much of a chore. But yeah, I would, if we're scoring things out of 10, I'd probably give it a 5. And that's mostly for the monsters and the giant crocodile and shit. That's pretty cool.
The giant crocodile shit. You're giving it points based on that. Wow.
Spoiler alert.
Is that like Jimmy Nail's follow-up to Crocodile Shoes?
Crocodile shit.
What have I stood in?
Giant crocodile shit again. Not again.
Wandering around the swamp on the Alf Wheeler's pet.
He would smell that coming, wouldn't he?
Damn crocodiles. And lastly for me, I've watched a really awesome documentary yesterday called The Rise of the Synths. I absolutely loved it. It's by a Spanish filmmaker called Ivan Castel, and it's all about synthwave music, and it's narrated by John Carpenter.
Oh, it's time.
It's really awesome. I actually felt like so emotionally nostalgic whilst I was watching it, just because it just goes back over the 80s, and you've got John Carpenter talking into his little like cassette recorder and stuff, talking about how he first started out and how he composed the music himself because he had to, you know, he didn't really know what he was doing, but it was the cheapest way to do it, and they kind of like cottoned onto this kind of style, and how it's kind of blossomed from there. And you know, there's a whole like underground scene of synthwave as it is now, going around, and it's been going on ever since the 80s, because a lot of people from that time look back on that time with, you know, nostalgia and pleasure, and they just remember the films of the time, and that's kind of how they reflect it in their music and stuff. But it's epic, you know, synthwave is everywhere. It's huge. You just don't really know it, you know, because it's featured mostly in movies. You kind of feel like it's just kind of in the background, but you know, there's a whole lot going on underground. You know, they're playing gigs, they're putting out music by themselves. A lot of these people are unsigned, you know, they can do what they like. it was just really cool. A very, very awesome documentary. And it had a cool
Nice.
little wraparound type thing of this kind of like big 80s dude in his DeLorean traveling back through time, going through the decades and stuff, talking to all these different acts and stuff. It was cool. Really, really good.
Super.
And that's it for me.
Oh yeah, the synth stuff's really good. It's still the best thing about Stranger Things is the score.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. There's, but you
By
know, they
far.
that in the documentary saying how much Stranger Things has done for the scene, you know, to kind of revive it that little bit more.
Yeah, and as you said though, it's never gone away really, and the things that I think is really what Stranger Things is doing now, but the things that came out a lot of years ago, or maybe I don't know, 5-10 years ago, things like Turbo Kid and Summer of '84. There's a whole bunch of movies that had fantastic scores like that.
They mentioned Driver a lot from 2011, Ryan Gosling.
Oh, Drive, Drive was there before all of those, yeah.
Yeah, they
And
mentioned
so was
Fest.
that was huge. And kind of a year after that, and it looks very much like Drive, was the Maniac remake, which is really good with Elijah Wood. That has a fantastic score, very much in that vein. Yeah, that's
very, very, very awesome. I don't know where you can get it. I know it was released on it is out on DVD, Blu-ray, and streaming in certain places. I don't know what places, but it was released the beginning of this month, 5th of July, I believe. So if you can find it, check it out. If not, hopefully it will come to Shudder or something like that soon.
Yeah. If anyone's going to get it, I guess it'll be them, won't you?
Yeah.
That sounds very good, and it's nice to see John Carpenter getting involved, not just sitting around watching wrestling or whatever he does. Nice to see him.
Lovely guy.
He's
nice listening to him. You just kind of feel all warm and cozy.
Oh, good old boy. I know he doesn't want to make any films really, but it's nice to see he's out there. Keeps him busy, doesn't it?
Sure.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, Sarah. Excellent bunch of stuff there. And that is one I'd like to watch as well one day. Wonderful. Stuff that I've seen since what we last recorded and all that. I suppose, well, a token mention for Jurassic World Dominion, which I've had the fortune of watching twice, actually, not my choice. And yeah, it's the hopefully the last. It really annoyed. I mean, it annoyed me slightly the first time, but watching again.
Ooh.
What was it about it you don't like?
It's just rubbish. I mean, it is genuinely rubbish, really.
Oh no, this is like an Amazon review. No,
One star. The packaging was broken. It isn't out yet, but I've heard it's. But it is astonishingly bad. I mean, everybody's back for no reason because we have to get everybody back, and they've changed it. Sam Neill is playing a different guy to the character he's playing the other one. Yes. Oh no. Yeah. I want to shag Laura Dern. The whole point in the first one, of course, is that you never really find out if they're a couple or not, and it doesn't really matter. Literally, at some points, people are getting in the way of the dinosaurs, the most boring characters on Earth, e.g., unfortunately, the people that are the leads in the film, are in the way of the dinosaurs, which is what we're here to. And we know no one's going to die because there's new characters. One's a child, one's a lesbian, so we know they're not going to kill off the child or the lesbian. So there's no suspense. Nobody's in danger unless they're really awful human beings, and then they're guaranteed to be dead. The CGI actually isn't particularly good at some points, given that this is a massively expensive film where it should be pristine and really, tip top. Some really ropey moments, I thought, especially maybe at the start. And also, it's basically Jurassic Park as a Bond film. Here we are in Marrakesh or the Taj Mahal or wherever it is, for no apparent reason, just to try and make up for the fact that this was a film from about 6 different scripts and 7 committees and a lot of accountants that made this film. Plus Chris Pratt and Thingy are just terrible.
The thing is, all these legacy movies, as they call them, where they bring in people from a previous film from decades ago. I get why you're there, but you are very much shoehorned into the script.
You've got nothing to do. Yeah. Jeff Goldblum. Oh, hello, Jeff Goldblum. Can you say your catchphrase? Oh, he's done it. He's been a bit weird.
Can you have your shirt halfway open and do it up while the lady's looking at you? Yes.
Oh, it's a bit like the line you said in the other one. Oh, hi Sam Neill, how's it going? Oh wait, what the fuck's happened to you? You're not sarcastic and interesting anymore. You're really boring and old. Yes, it's genuinely I mean, I didn't feel this way the first time. Maybe it's the bitterness of seeing it again. But I kind of get that it's made for, it's a family movie, special effects movie, and all that. But why is it 2.5 hours long? For God's sake,
That is true. It's very,
goes
very long.
on and on.
Did you
Pete,
like
did
the
you see this?
other two? Yeah, I seen it. I watched the new
Yeah.
Jurassic World in cinema.
What did you think?
Oh, actually, I didn't mind it because if you've read the books, as in Jurassic
Books are
Park,
much better.
well, yeah, that. But there's some nice little nods to the books
Oh, okay.
in Jurassic World, like when Jeff Goldblum's putting in the numbers into the
Yeah.
keypads to try and well, there are references to certain parts in the book, which I won't give away because of spoilers, because the book hasn't been around for too long.
Yes.
I was just kind of like I just watched it for the dinosaurs because I really like the dinosaurs. Baby Blue, she's cute.
If you was to rank out the 3 new ones, so the world ones, what's your favorite?
Oh, easily the second one. That was really good.
Yeah.
Fallen Kingdom. Yeah, that became in the second half. It's got that first half where they've got to get the island thing sorted out first, which is okay.
It's heartbreaking.
But the second half is fantastic. The second half of Fallen Kingdom is a proper gothic horror movie with the old dark house and the dinosaur in the house, the kind of visual quotes from things like Nosferatu, and it's all these British character actors. Yeah, the second one's easily the best of the most recent.
I think the trouble with the third one is it got hit with COVID being smack bang in the middle of it, so they had to shut a lot of it down. So you got that thing of, yeah, you're coming back, you haven't got quite the same energy as what they had when they were first doing the film, because of course everybody's like got to be 6 feet apart from each other, so the film was a bit awkward after a while. And also the ending was basically, you knew where it was going to go at some point anyway, and it did seem a bit rushed towards the end. In a 2.5-hour film, how do you rush the 2.5-hour film?
Exactly. They've got a 200 million budget, and they still haven't made anything as good as The Land That Time Forgot. Yeah.
Well, it is what it is.
It's slack. That's what it is, Pete. Slack. They weren't trying.
Slackosaurus.
See me afterward. Yeah. And it's a shame because there's been loads of summer films this year that I thought were really good. Like Top Gun Maverick was fantastic.
Wait for it, Sarah. I know what's going to come.
Oh,
go on, Stephen. Go
what?
on.
I don't know what you mean. Oh,
yeah.
No, you can. No, I don't want to be mocked.
Yes, say it, Stephen.
Well, okay. So this summer.
Yes.
I mean, this is obviously people are tuning in for horror, but this summer has been great. I mean, no longer do we have. I remember when the cinemas are open again. We're opening with Tenet. Oh fuck, this is boring. What's that about? Why are they all mumbling? So the plot. For time. What the fuck? Stop mumbling.
I hate that.
That's just a bunch of 80-year-olds talking in a library. Seen what's in the Guardian now.
Tenet, the film that's so dull, the main character is called the protagonist. Let's make it like a Bond film, but actually not even entertaining. Anyway, that's irrelevant. Yeah, so this summer, Top Gun Maverick was really fantastic, and it's made a fortune, and rightly so, because people actually have been really entertained. And I think people will remember that one. The new Thor movie I thought was great. The new Thor movie is also being slagged quite a lot online, which is usually a sign that it's good. Possibly because it's taking the piss constantly and also dares to have a serious bit about Natalie Portman getting cancer. So, and it's Taika Waititi, so it's so much a Taika Waititi film. It just happens to be
what with your titty?
My titty. You leave my titty out of this. This is
invasive. Take away my titty. What the hell is this about?
This is offensive. Yes, I don't know.
Well, you're the one that said it.
I'm very sensitive nipples, actually. What else has happened? Yes, so that was good. The Black Phone will come back to, but also Elvis was fantastic. What? Elvis was tremendous, and that's also made a fortune. Yep, I'm a big Baz Luhrmann fan. There's no escaping it. I was there on opening night in 2001 watching Moulin Rouge. Big fan of Strictly Ballroom back in the day. That's not a joke, by the way. There is a film called Strictly Ballroom, not about balls in that way. Romeo and Juliet was quite big in the 90s, actually, that version with Leo. But Elvis, fantastic. Truly great. And actually, although obviously not horror, and there's no way of swinging this towards horror, but interesting in the way that, like another film I saw recently, that Tom Hanks is playing quite subtly and interestingly these very dark characters. Like he's almost got a Bela Lugosi accent in Elvis as Colonel Tom Parker, who was neither a colonel nor called Tom Parker. You know, and it's from his point of view, so it's quite in a strange way Elvis, although it's lovely and, you know, it's like, oh, it's emotional and oh, and we know it's going to happen. In a strange way, Elvis is quite a dark movie because it's from his point of view, and it's obviously it's got a downbeat ending because there's no way around that. But yeah, it's not a rah 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 movie necessarily at all. Yeah, Elvis was great. Yeah, so it's a good summer of movies, but Dominion isn't one of them. It's a bag of shit. Also, The Black Phone.
Yes.
The Black Phone is fantastic. Yeah, so this is done really well as well. In fact, I think it's I've forgotten what the stat. I think it's the non-franchise horror movie that's made the most money since COVID. I think that's right. Everything else has obviously been stuff that's either a sequel or Conjuring or Nunjuring or something. But The Black Phone's really, really good. It's the latest movie to be made from a Joe Hill thing. Joe Hill's a great writer, and weirdly is in Creepshow, which we'll be discussing later, when he was called Joe King. That's actually not a joke. That was his name. And he's a fantastic writer. Horns was quite good, I thought. The Daniel Radcliffe movie, a very tricky book to adapt. Very, very tricky, but they did a good job. And I haven't seen it, but there's a series of Nosferatu, his massive book, and I'm presuming things like The Fireman kind of are a shoe-in for TV series, especially adaptation. But this is a short story that's been changed a bit to make it a feature-length film, and it's really good. And it's nice because it's set in the late 70s, so we've got so much 80s nostalgia stuff going on right now. This is something that's set in 1978, I think, and it doesn't overdo it. So it's not like a lot of the things that are coming out say, oh, it's the 80s, here's another reminder, it's the 80s, here's a scene where someone's literally running up that hill, and here's the song. It's not like Stranger Things where every episode, it's the 80s. Look at all the expense we took to get this set design. Look at that. We're at a bowling alley in the 80s. It's very subtle. So, but there is still conversations like, you know, people arguing about whether Texas Chainsaw Massacre is better than Enter the Dragon, and talk about the Fonz and things like that. And someone's watching The Tingler on TV, so it's that kind of generation that were watching 50s horror movies on TV. But it's a really nice, it's strange to say it's nice, but it's a very creepy film that actually is also quite big-hearted as well. It's got a fantastic performance by Ethan Hawke as the grabber, which sounds funny but isn't. And he's playing it. I've always liked Ethan Hawke, and Scott Derrickson, who made this film, had Ethan Hawke in Sinister, which is a great film, and Deliver Us from Evil, I think, was the other one. And Scott Derrickson, interestingly, had creative differences on the Doctor Strange movie, so abandoned it, and Sam Raimi took over. And as a result, he was able to make this film, which apparently is a very personal film for him. So it's a creepy tale. Ethan Hawke is this guy that abducts kids from his black van and leaves black balloons at the scene. And Ethan Hawke is often wearing like a mask or a partial mask, and his voice shifts. It's quite kind of fey and weird, and then it's sinister. It's all very weird. I mean, he plays a very convincing, messed up character. And the main kid is abducted, and you're following his attempts to escape from the grabber. And it's just superb. I mean, it's surprisingly emotional. It's got extremely good child actors in it. It does the thing of being a child-driven period piece probably better than the It movies or the recent It movies, in the sense it's quite understated, but it does have scares and a surprisingly emotional ending. It's also got Jeremy Davies is really, really good as the dad of the main kid, who's this kind of drunk, abusive character who could so easily be just that one note abusive character, but actually turns out to have real depth, and you end up feeling kind of sorry for him when you realize why he's that way. But yeah, the Black Phone is doing really well and totally deserved. So, you know, it's fantastic, really good. And not many jump scares. There is jump scares, but it, you know, it knows when to use them. Not really much gore either. It's
Psychological.
Yeah, very much so. And tense. It's a weird one because it's very familiar kind of setup with stuff we've seen before, but it goes in a fashion that you don't expect. But yeah, it's another good one from old Blumhouse Productions.
Nice.
So that's cool. Another film I saw was, on the Netflix is a Polish film, in fact. Nobody Sleeps in the Woods Tonight is the name. Nice, snappy, short title. And
Make things of Teddy Bear Picnic.
yeah, yes, the Teddy Bear's Picnic. This is so popular. There's already a second one on there, which I haven't watched the second one, but I think they turned that around quickly. What the fuck?
Week later, here's the second one.
It's a franchise. This is actually all right. I mean, this is basically the Polish Wrong Turn. This is, although it does have some wacky elements, like the usual kind of thing, backwards and kind of weird inbred kind of characters. But from what I could understand, it's these twin boys that brought home a piece of meteorite that turned them feral. I mean, I think that's kind of the backstory.
CREEPSHOW vibes to it.
Yeah, you're right. You know, another tie-in, weirdly. But it does have that Geordie Ferrell aspect, which we'll come to. But there's things about, I mean, it's very routine. It's very wrong turny. And there's even there's some good gore in this, but there's even a kind of, which way is it? Vertical bisection of a character, which is very much like the moment in Wrong Turn 2, I think it is at the very start. It's also got a sleeping bag bludgeoning across a tree, which is very Friday the 13th Part 7 or Jason X, whichever is your best. But it does cool things, you know. It's got surprisingly likable characters, and things don't quite turn out the way you think they will. So there's a hot girl in inverted commas that turns out to be perhaps the most insecure one out of all of them. There's a gay guy that kind of is a subplot about how it's not much fun to be gay if you're living in Poland. So it does have its own stamp on what we've typically seen as an American subject matter of, you know, oh shit, we're stuck with inbreds in the woods. But yeah, worth checking out if you're in the mood for a
Netflix.
But yes, a Netflix. You can watch it in Polish with subtitles, or you can watch it in English and pretend they're all English, whichever is your favorite.
Cool.
Or you can watch it in Polish and just learn Polish while you're there.
Yes, turn off the subtitles, sit back, and guess what they're saying.
Exactly.
Okay.
Make up your own story. Film about ham.
Like you do when, you know, people sat behind you talking a different language in a cafe or on a bus. And what are they really talking about? Not about me. Are they talking about all they're really talking about is what they recently bought. Your paranoia strikes in.
But we assume they're talking about, knocking us on the head and taking us home.
Masturbating with a squirrel's head or something.
Yes.
At least that's what I imagine.
Yeah, me too, actually. Oh, wait, that's weird that we mentioned the same thing. Wow.
What colour squirrel?
You never see us together. Oh, purple.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh, okay.
Make sure it's
that was just its cock, really, but...
Big, mighty head on it.
Oh, you must have nice squirrels where you live.
Well, it was deformity. The squirrel had a deformed head.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Too soon, or...?
No, he was. I think he was from Toulon, I think.
Oh, my mistake. Oh, well, send in my best thoughts and prayers. And yeah, okay.
He's dead.
Oh, geez, that was quick. Hardly knew him.
Hard is the operative word.
Hardly knew him. That's his brother. Yeah, shocking that. What else? A couple of oxygen. That's not my request. I'm so old. I need oxygen.
That squirrel doesn't need that anymore.
No, obviously not. Poor fella. Oh, I feel a bit bad about that squirrel now. I hope he's not real. Actually feeling a bit guilty. Oh God, this happens. Yeah, I watched a film called Oxygen. This is a film this is also a Netflix joint. It's a classic thing, isn't it? You're surrounded by choice. You got 7,000 films that you bought on Amazon that you haven't got around to watching. You've got Amazon Prime like whoring itself in front of you. Oh, why don't you watch this? This has got Chris Hemsworth in it. Go on, you want to. 2.5 hours, fuck off. Then you've got Netflix showing off a bit, showing a bit of leg. Do you watch this Oxygen film then? Yeah. So I did. Oxygen. This is interesting. This is a film by Alexandre Aja, the French guy who made very, very good stuff in the past, like Switchblade Romance or High Tension, depending on how you saw it. And the Hills Have Eyes remake was actually really super good. I spoke to him. I interviewed him once, weirdly, randomly. This is not a name dropper or anything. And it was very French, you know. He almost had a baguette under his, oh, Stephen, oh, je m'appelle, oh, blah, blah. Yeah, garlic around his neck. And I had 10 minutes because it was that thing where, oh, Mr. Aja will be on the phone in 10 minutes. And then you've got the woman butting in as it gets to 9 minutes. Oh, you've got one more question. Oh, shit, fuck me. But he was really sweet and really nice and very French. Yes. That's irrelevant, obviously. But yeah, so he's still out there making films, and this is quite good, actually. This is what I suppose is a perfect COVID era movie. I guess it was probably made in COVID times because it's a recent one, where almost the whole movie, a bit like Buried and lots of other things, almost the whole movie is one woman stuck in a cryogenic pod. And it sustains it really well, given that it's an hour and 40 or whatever. So much of the movie is figuring out, she's stuck in a cryogenic pod. Why? And you realize that she's a doctor in cryogenics, and there's a backstory of a virus that has killed millions of people, and the human race is essentially dying out because of it. And there's lots more going on there. There's a massive twist, which is actually quite cool, which I didn't see coming. I don't know if it's predictable. I don't tend to guess these things, but it's really tense, very claustrophobic. It's one woman stuck in the thing. But somehow, a bit like Buried, which I always thought was fantastic, somehow it really sustains itself. Some flashbacks where you briefly escape from that scenario of her in the pod, but mostly it's her trying to survive, running out of, obviously, oxygen, and it leans towards sci-fi, I guess. Not a horror movie, but very tense. Very cool how it keeps the kind of visual stuff interesting, even though there's such a limited setting. And it has a really good score. Where you talked about synthy stuff, and Rob, who's the French guy that did the Maniac soundtrack for the remake, and a bunch of other stuff like Gretel and Hansel, loads of great soundtracks. He did the score for this, and the score's really good and very much in that kind of synthy kind of vein. So yeah, Oxygen, well worth a watch, I would say, actually. Yeah, that's a good one.
Sounds more like a psychological thriller.
Kind of is. It's that it veers off into sci-fi-ish. Yeah, it's a good sweaty, sticky kind of edge of your seat. I must go and poke my head out the door at the end.
Get some
would have
fresh air.
worked. Like I remember watching Buried at Fright Fest, actually, and that worked really. Given that it's just one guy in a coffin for an hour, that worked really well on the big screen because obviously it's bigger. Not maybe, and it's very dark, and you're not distracted by all the stuff you've got at home. So I think this kind of thing, strangely, does work better on the big screen. Hilariously, or not, Buried was the substitute because they pulled a Serbian film at the last minute, which was due to be shown in that slot whenever this year was, because they were planning to show it uncut, but Westminster Council said, you can only show it in the pre-approved cut version, I'm afraid. And they said, oh, bollocks to you, we're not going to show it at all then. And showed Buried, and people were a bit bummed out because they were looking forward to a Serbian film.
To be fair, I would probably have preferred Buried for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the Serbian film, but yeah, no, you're right. We're kind of bummed out, but then Buried comes on, and we're like, wow! And everyone seemed to really be in the spirit of it. It was deathly quiet in there. Ryan Reynolds, fantastic in that movie, which is a shame. He's stuck doing these Ryan Reynoldsy things where he plays the same character in every film. Because in Buried, he's really good, and now every film he's in, it's the sarcastic guy. It's Ryan. He's Deadpool, but it's not a Deadpool film.
Yeah.
So that's a bit shit, but he's obviously a very good actor, and Buried, Buried was super. Yeah, so that's me recently seen, I think. I mean, I've watched old stuff. I watched Rosemary's Baby again. Not actually The Baby, the film. That was fantastic. Have you watched Rosemary's Baby lately, anyone?
Not lately.
Nope.
It's really good. It's a shocking revelation, but it's really, really good. Horror classic turns out to be good.
We'll stick it on one day, hopefully.
It's so good. I mean, I was going through Polanski thingy. Been reading his autobiography, which is very depressing, obviously, because he had the most extraordinary, you think it couldn't get any worse when his mum is gassed at Auschwitz. And you go, oh no, it's getting much worse all the time, because the Sharon Tate's thing coming, but there's stuff in between. Like, oh fuck me, you did have a streak of awful luck, didn't you? Jesus. But yeah, Rosemary's Baby is, after all these years, is still extraordinary. And of course, you don't see a thing. You do not see a single thing. Could all be in her head, and probably is. But never trust those friendly neighbours that offer you a weird chalky milkshake thing. Never trust them, Sarah. They're nice. Mrs. Goggins from across the road in Toffwood or whatever. She comes round, doesn't she? I know you've fallen for this already. She comes round with her special concoction.
Special drink, yeah.
Yeah,
And
she's grooming you.
Every time.
Yeah. I know she seems not harmless old people. That's what you think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry to break it to you, but it's just not like that.
Okay. I'll try and remember, don't talk to strangers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Which is a silly thing to say, really, because if you didn't talk to strangers, then how do we actually talk to anybody when we first start talking to people?
That's true. How do you become friends?
Because your mum and dad, they are your mum and dad. But
That's
at
true.
the precise moment in time,
until
you actually physically know their actual name, they are still strangers. They are just mum and dad. So,
like in that film.
Yeah. So if you're going around and saying I'm not going to talk to strangers, then nobody's going to be talking to anybody at all.
That's crap advice then, Pete, isn't it, really? I mean, it doesn't really work. Like your teacher.
Exactly. I don't, first day
Hello,
at school,
kids.
You don't know a teacher. I'll not say anything to you, don't know you.
Yeah, it is. Well, Mrs. Goggins. Well, you
well,
say
I'm doing
that.
about you. I'm not talking to you.
You don't know her.
She's the one giving Sarah those milkshakes. I wouldn't trust her. Is she teaching now, did you say? Jeez.
You're the one that told us that she was teaching.
Did I? Well, that's because you told me. Why am I talking to you? Who are you again? Blooming stranger. That's what you are. Stranger danger. I'm off to tell my dad. Charlie says, never talk to, always tell your mummy where you go. I love the Charlie says.
And Charlie was voiced by who?
Kenny Everett, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're fantastic. They're like, that was the stuff we grew up with in the 80s. All these terrifying things, including that actually was quite disturbing.
My mummy said, you're the man that comes round after the milkman.
Never give a blowjob to someone you don't know.
Which is really awkward.
Terrible
advice. It is. If you go to like a glory hole or something.
The blowjob Orient.
Shake the penis and go, nice to meet you, and then off you go.
Shake the penis. You don't shake the penis. What glory hole is this where you don't shake the penis?
Well,
I'll be doing it wrong.
Well, you shake the penis, but that's later on. You don't like you're greeting somebody. You don't like grab the penis and say, well, nice to meet you, sir.
Can I have some ID? Can I see your COVID pass?
It says you've only got
sneezed on me.
Oh! I see you've got 9 holes in your punch card. Come for another one. You'll have the free blowjob next time.
9 holes? Who is this? Some kind of extraordinary freak show glory hole that you've attended. It's an
amoeba. I brought an amoeba to a glory hole. Here you go. Have fun with all these holes.
You brought a knife to a gunfight and an amoeba to a glory hole. What the?
I like to spice things up.
The Spice Girls. Always thought that Jerry was a wrong one. Yes, excellent. Well, there we go. That was extraordinary.
Before you go on to talking about CREEPSHOW, as it seems to be a bit of a talking point, and we already decided what we was going to talk about this month, I wanted to get your 2 thoughts on audio about the Munsters. The new one, the Rob Zombie films. As we all know, as we discussed many times before, Stephen hates Rob Zombie films, especially the Halloween films. So we'll go with you first, Stephen.
Well, as you know from listening to the Rob Zombie episode, despite Pete's hilarious running joke, I actually think Rob Zombie's great. I like Rob Zombie's music, and in fact, almost all of his films are really, really good, especially
from Halloween.
Especially the Halloween films. Lords of Salem, very good. So, not only am I on board with Rob Zombie as a filmmaker, which a lot of people seem to not be, but also
this sounds like a political apology.
I did not have intercourse with that man. And that dress, those cummy bits, that's not me.
Actually-
Yeah. It's Muller Corner, that one.
Fun flavoured ice cream.
Is that a thing now? Wow. Ben and
Yes.
Jerry have really pushed the boat out.
Yes,
Pushed something out.
they thought they'd go more organic with everything.
The orgasmic ice cream, fantastic. So yeah, and also, of course, liking those movies, I also happen to think, obviously, the jokes are, he'd make Jaws and cast Sherry as the shark or whatever, but Sherry Moon is actually really good in some of them, like Halloween 2. She's very good. Actually, sorry, the first Halloween, she's very good. She's in both, but she's very good in the first one as the kind of dropout.
She's the horse in the second one.
Desperate. She's with a horse. She's not actually the horse.
Oh.
The horse is played by the one from Mr. Ed. And she's very, very good in Lords of Salem. So it's not like she can't act. So I do like Rob Zombie's films. And I think, as I've said already, I'm happy to be proven wrong. But if first impressions count, and if a trailer is made to make you want to watch something, I do think the trailer looks terrible. I mean, that's how it goes. I hope it's not a terrible film. I'm not especially excited to watch a film about the Munsters anyway, because it was a thing. It was funny and good because it was a 60s thing. However, the Addams Family films from the 90s are really good. And if it's any consolation, I think the Tim Burton Wednesday thing looks pretty shit as well. But then again, I'm happy to be proven wrong. Tim Burton hasn't made a good film for about 25 years, but again, if he's made a good series of Wednesday, and if Rob Zombie's Munsters is actually really good, that would be great, because I like Rob Zombie. He's a nice guy. He's a vegan. He wants to save the planet. He's better than I. So that's it. Yeah.
Okay. Sarah?
I'm of the opposite opinion. I'm really looking forward to it because I really hope it's going to be good, but I have a few reservations. Unfortunately not. Yeah, sorry. Like Stephen says, I'm slightly concerned about Sherry Zombie as Lily. And the very first trailer, like teaser trailer he brought out, was literally just them just bursting out of a door and just kind of like in the introduction and stuff. And I actually thought to myself, you know what, this kind of looks quite promising. I love the fact that it was black and white, and then it like popped into these really huge, big, bright, vibrant colours. I really like that about it, all the neon lights and smoke and stuff. It's really cool. I just think the only thing that's going to let it down is Sherry Moon as Lily. The recent trailer after that, I was just like, oh no, she's already getting on my nerves. But I'm hoping, a lot of people have slagged off Daniel Phillips as Herman as well, saying, the voice isn't right. It's going to be shit. It don't sound right. Well, he's not going to be the same, is he? No. So I think you should give him a chance. I think I think he does quite a good job in the trailer and stuff. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think I'm looking forward to it more now, after all the bad press, to be fair.
Fair enough.
Because I want him to prove everyone wrong. He can do a PG movie and make it family friendly.
Well, my thing is, I quite like the Munsters, as in the original series. I quite like the TV movies that they did throughout all the years. So when they said that Rob Zombie was going to do the Munsters, a lot of people were going the aspect of, is he going to do Rob Zombie-esque type stuff, and it's going to have a lot of like 70s exploitation type stuff shoved into it. And I thought, nope, that's not going to happen, because there's a big studio production thing, and they ain't going to get the Munsters, which got a massive fan base, and allow him to completely destroy it in one fell swoop, which potentially he might have done, depending on people's reaction to this film. But the trailer, in a way, he was kind of smart, because the trailer isn't your typical trailer where you sort of go, this is what's going to happen, and it sort of advances for a trailer to what's going to be happening later on. It's very mismatched and sort of not really coherent in the trailer. So people are talking about the trailer because they're not really sure what's going on in it. But also, I read a comment on YouTube which made me laugh, which seemed very apt for the trailer. This looks like an advert for a credit card. And I thought, yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. You have no idea what's really going on, but you're kind of like, I'm sold. I shall go get something now. But as I said, it's getting people to talk about the trailer, whether it's a good thing, I like most things, bad press or good press, people are talking about it. And at the end of the day, if you're a filmmaker or a music maker, wherever, and somebody's talking about the product that you have, at least they're talking about it.
Yeah.
So will I watch it when it comes out? Yes. Will I watch it in the cinema? Probably not. It's not something I'd particularly go out on my way to watch at the cinema unless it was like a quite cheap deal on that day.
It's not going to be at the cinema, is it?
No, it's
No,
straight to Netflix.
Yes, I read that the other day. I was like, oh, well done. So it's
But it was on the cards apparently to be on Netflix. Did you see Rob Zombie's post he put up?
Yeah, that was really good. That's characteristic him, because he was and part of what he was doing was kind of correcting some untruths, wasn't it? Like,
Yeah.
people are saying, well, this movie's apparently cost $40 million and it looks like shite.
No.
But of course it never did, and doesn't. And this movie's so bad it's going straight to Netflix, which it always was, so
Anyway, yeah.
so that's quite interesting. Yeah. Well,
yeah. So it will be interesting to see the reaction once it's actually out.
Yeah.
To people actually, a bit like Stephen said, Tim Burton's doing the Wednesday series. Is it a little bit too late? Maybe he should have done that when he did, back in the 90s kind of stuff, when Adam's Family was quite a big thing still.
Yeah.
Instead of like, what's popular but sort of nostalgic? Oh yeah, something from the 90s, because we're doing 90s stuff now.
Bizarre. Yeah. And also, it's him as well, which he's been banging that drum so long.
Yes.
Maybe get a new tune. That's why Dark Shadows was so bad. Let's get Tim Burton to do a Dark Shadows. Why? What's the point? It was truly dreadful. And same for his version of Planet of the Apes, actually. Jesus. But yeah, let's hope it's good.
Yes.
And it's Rob, so I've got a lot of time.
You hate it already.
I've got a lot of time for him. And why not? He's done the trailer trash, hateful people, bludgeoning each other to death thing a lot. So for him, it's probably a merciful.
That's trouble. Sometimes people are expecting it to be the exploitation-esque type stuff. But it's not. But it's very much a studio. He's got a toned line kind of movie, which obviously for Rob Zombie would probably at the studio do it. So it was probably like, I'm really struggling to kind of stop myself from stepping over the line, because at the end of the day, he's getting paid to do the film. So and he's still got to do all the press for it as well. So he's probably go, actually, it's a load of shit when I was making it, but what I wanted to make. Enjoy the movie.
Yeah, I mean, the Monsters was a kind of
it's very quiche.
Yeah, and it was
Lorraine
of its time. Oh, Lorraine Kelly. And it's I mean, the Monsters was never hilarious, but the Addams Family was never hilarious. It was just like, it's quite pleasant to watch. It's fun. It's
it's basically both of them
60s.
Basically both of them are just American sitcoms with kooky characters. That's all it is.
Same plots as a normal sitcom.
Yeah, if you took away, there's Frankenstein, there's Dracula, and all that kind of thing, and just went, shit, this is normal characters, would it have been as popular?
I mean, and it only had really maybe two jokes. One was Herman doing something clumsy, and the other was that the weird one is the one that's the Marilyn Monroe kind of blonde. That's the two jokes. Every week. But then every sitcom, it's the same joke every week. You tune in to watch Little Britain or whatever, or any sketch show, it's the same joke with different scenarios. Yes, I want that one. So I mean, it's unlike Jurassic World Dominion, it's something people are talking about. People are going to see Jurassic Park or Jurassic World Dominion, but no one's going to be talking about it in 6 months' time. But the Monsters,
probably,
as you suggest. Marvelous, excellent. They've already done well. It makes sense as well, I suppose, because they've done Bewitched. There was a kind of weird movie of that with Nicole Kidman, wasn't there, a few years ago?
Yes.
Have they done I Dream of Jeannie?
Not that I can recall.
But it makes sense that all these things come round. Looking forward to the Fawlty Towers and the Alf Garnett movies from Rob Zombie. Hopefully.
Yes.
Marvelous. So Steptoe. Yeah, actually.
Yes.
I've got just the pitch.
What about Love by Neighbour? That'd be quite popular in today's climate.
He's living next door to a
what? Yeah,
He's one of them. He's one. Yeah. This program made 55 years ago may contain dated racial attitudes. Yeah, no fucking shit. Anyway, so
that's one of the things I obviously I different culture now and all that kind of thing, but that's one of the things that I hate when you read such and such has been banned from whatever library because of whatever may insult somebody that's presented. The book was written in 1873. What are you expecting?
Yeah, exactly. And those warnings are for stupid people, you know. Oh, Gone with the Wind, made in 1939, is a bit outdated, is it? Well, that's a real shocker. Thanks for warning me of that before I sit down to watch it. This classic Hollywood film. Excellent. Oh, this is going to have smoking in it. Phew. Thanks for warning me, Disney Plus. I definitely won't show it to my child now. The Goonies has the word faggot in it, does it? Oh,
does this mean like in however long it would take till we actually be able to create realistic, actually be able to use lightsabers? Does this mean in like 70 years time when lightsabers become obsolete and offensive, well, doesn't he have to put that at the beginning of their thing due to, you know, this may offend somebody?
Yep, it's big glowing cocks.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't know Disney was showing porn, but okay.
It is amusing that they that Disney has all this because they own different things now, isn't it? So it's great to see all that stuff from the House of Mouse. Right, well, so it's time for the main juicy chatterboxing, which is around the CREEPSHOW films.
CREEPSHOW. Yes.
CREEPSHOW films, which officially, if you take the original, of course, as the starting point, which it is, 40 years old. 40 years old. 40 years ago, George Angela Romero, because the A stands for Angela, made CREEPSHOW with Stephen King. I remember.
Because I was there.
Old man at the bus stop. I remember having the videotapes. The videotape of CREEPSHOW, and they spelled Stephen King wrong on the spine. It was with a V. Get that? I don't know which version it was. It was some VHS, and they got the Stephen with a V on the spine. I mean, who didn't check that properly?
Oh yeah, that's a major faux pas.
Jeff from Quality Checking. He should have been
talking of quality checking, actually, before you go on the rest of this film, CREEPSHOW 2, the Arrow release, the extras on it, they spelled rubber wrong.
Rubber.
Yeah, there's an extra on it. I can't remember exactly what the extra was called, but it's about the special effects, and it's spelled Ruber, as in Ruber. Oh, was it?
Ruber.
Quality check's not gone right for it.
Is that like Uber? Is that a new service? Oh, I'm just going to get Aruba. Just to get Aruba. Wait a minute, that's something else.
You want to go to Aruba?
Aruba, that's the Beach Boys song. Yes, Aruba. Yeah, so 40 years old. So George Romero had actually done some interesting stuff, old George, didn't he? Because before this was Night Riders, which is the really cool kind of Arthurian thing on bikes with Tom Savini and pretty much lots of other people from the George Romero world. So he was doing some cool stuff, and Martin is a really interesting film around the zombie things. And this was something else entirely. This was, I suppose, fitting because in the 80s, actually in the 70s as well, with American Graffiti and Happy Days, we were going back to the 50s, like we do now. A couple of decades earlier was much more interesting. Let's do stuff about the 50s because we're 20 years on or 30 years on. So everything's about the 50s. And this is very much about the 50s EC Comics, which was a huge influence on Stephen King, Toby Hooper, all those guys. And this holds up really well. This was weirdly the first, along with The Thing, the first video rentals we ever had when we first got a VCR in 1985. I know the date well. And back then you had to not only rent the videos, but rent the player because they were so expensive. So we had a rented video for years and years. And I think gradually over time, prices dropped and my parents were able to buy one. Before that, you had to rent your video player. It's massive. It was the size of a horse. and Dad had to sometimes smack it. Oh, it's not oh God, look, I was try the tracking. Oh, whack it with a hammer. Oh fuck. Take it out and put it in again. Some things never change. Yeah. So huge nostalgia movie. 5 stories. It's an unusually long film for, I guess, for horror. Not many horror films back then were 2 hours, but it kind of earns it because it's 5 stories in one. And it's the old format, isn't it? Where if you don't like one, don't worry because there's another one coming along in a minute.
You can always fast forward that one.
Yes, yeah, and nothing outstays its welcome really, because although actually I think the crate is quite long, but nothing outstays its welcome because there's 5. They've got to pack 5 in.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to skip any of them. To be fair,
it's a good bunch, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a good bunch. And something I don't think I appreciated when I was little and watching this is one of the early rentals is it really does go out of its way to look like a proper living horror comic.
Yeah.
And at a time when there wasn't comic book movies weren't a thing, but obviously now they're all over the shop. So I think this is a major film in that way, and it has all the captions, it has all the wipes and all the kind of groovy transitions, and especially it has all the colors, all the beautiful blues and reds and stuff.
Yay, comic book type.
Yes,
running and stories and...
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And it works really well. When did you first watch it, everybody? When did you first watch it, Pete?
Might have been early 90s at some point. Because remember, I'm younger than you two.
Oh, early 90s. I was an old man then.
You're still an old man.
Oh yeah, that's reassuring.
No matter how many birthdays you'll have, you'll still be older than me.
God damn it. Early 90s. You should have been watching Beverly Hills 90210 then. What were you doing watching Creepshow? Gosh.
I was watching Fireman Salmon, Real Ghostbusters.
Defenders of the Earth. Oh, that's too early. Thundercats.
Thunder. Yeah.
Do you remember Shmee? Shmee was from Thundercats, right? Shmee.
Yes, it's Snarf anyway.
That's He-Man.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah. Oops.
But yeah, I think I was the same in the kind of early 90s and stuff. I was just astounded by how many people that I recognised. And like Leslie Nielsen and stuff like that. I was like, I know who that is.
It's actually weird watching Leslie Nielsen in this because he's obviously most people see Leslie Nielsen and they go, well, Police Squad and Naked Gun, that kind of stuff. So you got this comedy-esque character in your head. And then you see this, you're like, he's a right bastard.
Yeah. I think I was actually like, what the hell? They've turned him into a horrible person.
He plays a bastard really well.
Yeah.
And he's a bastard in Day of the Animals. Day of the Animals.
Yes.
It turns out the hole in the ozone layer affects animals because obviously that's the point. But also it turns Leslie Nielsen into this rapist that punches kids and tries to molest whoever's around. Really, he's the one that's most affected, other than the cougars and the dogs and the vultures and stuff. Yeah, he plays bad really good.
Yeah, he does. But
what about
Ted Danson?
Yes, Ted Danson. I was a big fan of Cheers, so that was quite heartbreaking.
The guy from Cheers. Don't kill the guy from Cheers.
What about how sexy Ed Harris looks with hair and doing that dance?
Oh yes, the dance is certainly interesting. So what are you having a fit? What's going on here?
He's so good. It's an amazing cast. Yeah, I think it's kind of exceptional.
All the little segments. Well, even like the segment, like the wraparound like story at the beginning with little Billy and his dad being Tom Atkins.
Tom Atkins is great as a bastard again. As a bad dad.
Tom Atkins is a bastard, but only a few years later would he be a sex machine.
Absolutely.
Oh no, I forgot thrill me. That's the catchphrase, isn't it? I'd almost forgotten the catchphrase. Yeah, Tom Atkins is great, and this was 82, so this was the same year as Halloween 3, right? When he's getting it on with Halloween 3 is still my favorite one.
I think he had therapy between that one and then becoming the sex machine that he was in Halloween 3.
I have to talk
to control his anger issues.
Tom Atkins, Halloween 3 has my favorite Tom Atkins bit, I think, where he hilariously he picks up, or he kind of gets to know this girl whose dad has just been burned to death. No, not burned to death. He's just been killed by having his like face pulled apart in the hospital bed. And one day later, he's already trying it on, and then they have sex. And afterwards, he said, "How old are you again?" Because she looks about 16. Oh, you had to be there. Yeah, Tom Atkins as a horrible kind of arrogant dad that hates horror. So he's automatically the bad guy in this film because his kid is basically Stephen King as a kid, isn't he? He's got all the posters and stuff.
Well, it's Stephen King's kid.
Yes, which is interesting.
It's Joe King.
Yep. Don't you know? You're not joking. Who is it?
Joe Hill.
Oh, Joe Hill. Yes, Joe Hill, who turned out very well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is quite cool. And the wraparound's quite good. I quite like the kind of animatronic creep that's outside the bedroom window.
Yeah, the creep's the best in the first one.
Oh yeah, the second one's rubbish, isn't it? I mean, not the film, but the wraparound isn't.
Yeah.
Should we have a brief talk about the actual little stories in this, as in not like a big long-winded thing, but a little brief?
Yeah.
Just in case people haven't seen it, because this film has been out for I don't know, for like 40 years, so it might be
recent.
might be down somebody's watch list somewhere.
So spoiler alert.
Put mute on in 3, 2, 1, begin.
I got my cake. Oh.
I love the first one. The first one's great.
Father's Day.
Father's Day. I like the way they use a lot of repetitive lines in a few of these stories, and again in 2 as well.
Mm-hmm. Meteor shit. Yes, which is very comic. It's very Tales from the Crypt, BC speech bubble kind of stuff. Yeah, comic book kind of stuff. But yeah, Father's Day is about a dude that comes back from the dead, who was killed by his daughter on Father's Day because he was such an obnoxious bastard.
Yeah.
Basically.
Whose dad is that? It's mental, isn't it?
He is horrible.
He's like something out of Dickens.
He is.
Where's my porridge?
Where's more? You want more?
Boy.
Well, actually, I suppose interestingly, what's her name? The housekeeper is called Mrs. Danvers, which is right out of Rebecca, isn't it?
Yes.
So it's quite It's quite cool that it has this kind of Victorian thing going on. Yes,
it is quite Victorian, and I love the way he comes back out of the grave, hands coming out the ground. I mean, it's kind of like a Fulci-esque type of zombie as well.
Isn't that interesting that Romero, who never really did the maggoty proper Fulci ghoul thing and did those, that's quite cool. I mean, that's presumably because the Fulci films were presumably again influenced by the EC stuff, where there were maggoty zombies rather than the kind of pale makeups of the Romero zombies, who always seem freshly dead. That's quite cool, isn't it? Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, Savini had an overdrive of makeup on this film, but amazing. Yes, exactly. Amazing, man. What about that great squish? What about that great squish sound effect when the tombstone falls on Ed Harris's head? That's one of my favourites.
Well, what I get from that bit is maybe don't drink Jim Beams around by gravestones, because it doesn't work out very well for you, does it?
They're all quaffing Jim. Yes. I love the product placement in things. It's the same with J&B and the Giallo, isn't it?
Can you see it? Can you see it? Is it in the shot? You sure it's in the shot? Okay, right, great.
Have we got any more of the Jim Beam, Frank?
Just put it a little bit closer to the camera. There we go. Perfect. Now everybody can see it.
It's great. And the common thread, I suppose, in this film is pretty much everybody is hateful and gold digging and horror. You know.
Well, that's the easy way, wasn't it? It was the fact that whoever was like the antagonist in a story got their comeuppance towards the end of the story.
Yeah.
So if you was an asshole, basically, if you was an asshole at the beginning, by the time you come to the end of the story, you'd have your comeuppance.
Towards the end, yeah.
I guess you could kind of argue potentially with the Geordie Verrill one, was he an
Yeah.
asshole? But
Wow.
you could say that's more greed because he was looking at selling the meteor to be greedy and
Sure.
get money out of it. So he gets his comeuppance from what
Good
happened in
point.
this story. So
Yeah, they're all great. Yeah, absolutely. They're self-centered.
Mhm.
Yeah. Father's Day has maybe it's the most quoted one because it's "I want my cake" is probably the line that everybody remembers,
yes,
along with maybe Meteor shit as well. But yeah, but that zombie.
it's a good opening though.
It's a really good
Opening
opening.
story. Yeah.
But it's really nicely done. All those weird angles and it's it's the real attention to detail that I think I noticed more watching it again over the years, how it's framed and the transitions and stuff. It's really cool. And I'm guessing this probably didn't cost a huge amount of money, and it does look like it. They spent a lot of time.
As in this story or the film?
The whole thing.
Film.
I'm guessing it.
The whole film was 8 million.
Ah, that sounds like a lot.
Yes, well, for them, 8 million. Yes,
compared to Dawn of the Dead is really cheap, isn't it? Given what they did, given all the stunts.
Box office wise, this made 21 million.
It's a good return, Pete. Good return on investment.
Mm-hmm. Wait until we talk about CREEPSHOW 3 later. Oh, boy, did that make its money.
Oh, sorry, you're breaking up. God, this village internet is just.
I'm sorry, Stephen. It wasn't you. It was CREEPSHOw 3.
Oh, bless you. Well, you should get that looked at. Yeah, that's cool. So yeah, Father's Day. Well, probably what we'll do with the first two is we'll kind of rate them in our favorites and stuff. But yeah, that's the first one at the end. Father's Day is very good. The Lonesome Death of Geordie Verrill. These are all fun actually. So this is as far as I can tell, this is a kind of EC meets the Blob thing.
Yes.
With the meteor crash. And what I think is hilarious about this, and actually Stephen King's acting in films is often funny. Like I'll never forget the I don't know what it's called in the credits, but it's essentially twat at the cash machine at the start of Maximum Overdrive, where it tells him to fuck off. What does the cash machine say? Get your hair cut, asshole, or something.
Something like that, yeah.
And amusingly, and I think it says a lot about him actually, is that, and sort of similar in CREEPSHOW 2 is he casts himself as dumb shit characters. In this case, a grinning, boss-eyed, kind of mugging hick. And it's very funny watching him put all these faces and stuff, wearing dungarees and talking to himself, watching wreshling.
That is pretty much that.
And it's the whole. He's the whole show. I mean, there's the kind of fantasy flashaways to. It's the same guy playing the Doctor or the meteor expert, isn't it? It's
yes, like, the Doctor and the meteor expert and
his dad
are all the same character, played by the same actor.
And that otherwise it's a one-man show, which I think is actually quite cool.
Yeah.
And in the extras, it was I've already forgotten, which is ridiculous. But Stephen King wrote this for himself, but one of the other guys was was expecting to play this part. I've forgotten which. It may come to me, but anyway, yeah.
The story.
Oh, Tom Atkins. Actually, that was it. I watched an interview with Tom Atkins, and Tom Atkins was initially. He was given the choice of, what is there a part you'd like to play? And he said Geordie Verrill, and straight away Romero said, actually Stephen King wants to play that. Is there another part you want to play? What about the dad? So there was no choice.
Well, as I said, Weeds is the name of the story, the short story.
Yes. King. Yeah. You know what? I think probably I remember reading the novels, but the short Stephen King stories of things like Night Shift are really great. I mean, they're. His short stuff is sometimes the better. Like the short story of Children of the Corn is much better than the films. It's really good. He writes the short stuff so well. Not that he doesn't write the long stuff really well. But yeah, Geordie Verrill, Sarah, what's your thoughts on this?
Oh, I love him. Yeah, that's my favourite one.
This is your favourite one?
Yeah, it is my favourite one.
Why is it your favourite one?
I just think it's funny.
That was rather aggressive there. So why is this your favourite? Explain yourself, child.
Is it the green chest wig? I know what you like.
He Poor just man played Swamp Thing.
Absolutely. Swamp Thing. I don't know. I don't know why. I just think he's funny and cute and silly, and I think that's my favourite bit.
It is funny.
just the things he says, and like poking the meteor and getting the little bits of grass like on his fingers and not thinking anything of it, and then have
Yes.
flashbacks.
And actually, I think you're right, or I think you hinted at this, but he may well be, maybe except for, I suppose, Hal Holbrook in The Crate, where he's got such a monster of a wife. But he's probably the only sympathetic character in the whole film, because
Yeah.
he's he wants to make money from it, but he's kind of downtrodden, and
Yeah.
his dad don't seem very nice.
Yeah.
You think about the characters in the first story in the,
All
the
horrible.
film, Father's
Mhm.
Day. Yeah, they're all horrible. There is really that you'd be sympathetic towards maybe the maid. That's about it.
Don't really see her enough.
Scandalous.
Exactly. And you might feel sympathetic towards Ed Harris's character, because he's kind of
Sexy.
marrying into this
Mm.
socialite,
Yes.
egotistical family, but he's pretty much making himself that as well anyway. So you're kind of like, sorry, you're gonna die anyway. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. Whereas Geordie, you're like, no, don't die. And especially at the end when he like blows his head off.
He doesn't
it's
deserve that fate, yeah.
Yeah.
Please God.
But when you
just
read
this time.
and he said,
Oh.
there's that point where he says, "Oh no, not there."
I presume
Which
he
is
means
it?
his toenails, which is a terrible
Oh.
thing to plants
Oh,
growing.
I didn't realize. I assumed it was his knees. But then
the back of the knee, yeah, because that way you put your leg on the chair.
did you ever
that's gonna
get
rub
that
against
dry
it, it'll
patch
pain
down
me.
there? Yeah, I had a heat patch around there this week. Very embarrassing. But then Stephen King's books are often very sympathetic to, I suppose, over there it would be referred to as like the blue collar characters. They're very sympathetic, and a lot of the protagonists of Stephen King books are, the disenfranchised or the supposedly lower classes and things. So that makes sense that he would want to play this role. And despite all the comedy stuff and the slapstick faces and all that, he's someone you root for.
Yeah.
Well, it's how much he thinks he might be able to get for his meteor as well. Is that you think that, I've got this. It's about how many times you watch it, you still think he's going to say some ridiculous amount. It's like $200.
Wow.
Ooh.
Even in 1982, that's not worth turning into a giant plant for. I like that he's so quick to touch it. Oh shit.
Yes, like you would. Big come full of the sky. It's gonna be nice and cool by the time it hits the earth.
Yeah, it's a fun one, and it's again, it's very much in the spirit of those stories, and it's light and bright and goes fast. The next couple, I suppose, they feel like the longest because there's more going on and there's a bit more kind of character stuff going on. And I think they're probably like half an hour each or something. But Something to Tide You Over is number 3, which is the aforementioned
Leslie Nielsen.
Leslie Nielsen is a bit of a bastard. Ted Danson is a bit of an arrogant kind of, well, and he's not sympathetic because he's having an affair with Leslie Nielsen's wife, isn't he? Galen Ross from Dawn of the Dead, right? Yes. So John Amplas is in the first one, isn't he? John Martin, the Martin guy, is in Father's Day. I forgot which character he is, but yeah, this is kind of the gang's all here.
It's how many people can we? Well, basically, the film was shot. I think it was mostly primarily shot in Pittsburgh anyway. So he's probably Ramirez probably got most of his usuals in, like most filmmakers do. You have your usual cast. You try to fit them in where you can because they're going to be reliable.
Yeah, and he was loyal, wasn't he? Because Tom Atkins shows up in Two Evil Eyes, and what's the other one? I've gone blank. He's in another one as well. Oh, Bruiser. He's in Bruiser. Quite a bit later. Adrienne Barbeau is in Two Evil Eyes as well, isn't she? So yeah, it's quite cool. And obviously the same happened with old John Carpenter would interview. Oh, there's Nancy Loomis again, and good to see her. Good, she's getting work. Oh, Tom Atkins. Yeah. Very sweet. So yeah, I like all of these, but I really like Something to Tide You Over, and I think this is the least. Well, this is the one with no blood in it, which is I know Geordie Verrill just has kind of green stuff, but
this one only has green stuff as well because when he shoots
later
on, he said there's just water and greenness come out. So yeah, it's still blood in a way, but
seaweed all over them, and
EC Comics didn't really had scenes where it was bloody and gory, but
Yeah.
That's why it got banned at some point. They had that comic. I can't remember what they're called. They had in America. They had a bit like the MPAA type thing. They had a comic company that came out and basically said these need to be regulated because they could corrupt our children. Yes, we're all going to go cut out a voodoo doll thing and send it off to somewhere. Yes, that's probably.
Well, it's Frederick. Frederick Wortham, wasn't it? That tried to, or successfully did kill it off. Really, he was successful. It was along with Elvis's pelvis. It was those things that they thought would crush culture and destroy the youth. Says a lot. And again, America, 50s America, Jesus Christ. But yeah, this is cool. But I always thought, actually, you're right. There's the very, I think these are great zombies in this when they come back. Galen Ross, seaweed draped, very ghoulish.
The fog mist coming in.
Fantastic.
I know the sailors are coming. Hang on a minute, that's not them. That's not them.
It's great. And I also love their very, the way they've changed the very garbled speech.
Mm-hmm. Like they're underwater.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And also and ahead of its time, I think, with some of the images, Nielsen's so rich in this film that he has CCTV in every room.
Mm-hmm.
And there's those really eerie shots of them appearing on the CCTV, which in 1982, that wasn't something I'd seen before, I don't think, maybe, but I can't remember. So I thought that's really cool. But even when I was little, I remember feeling really disturbed by the idea of being buried in the sand up to your head and then the tide coming in and being left by, let's say, your parents. Not that they would, of course.
I thought that's where the story was going. I was very disturbed by watching it, and then it actually happened.
But yeah, I mean, who hasn't been buried in the sand?
Obviously, upside down, feet in. You're doing it wrong. Not like the movies.
Dad.
What's so dark in here?
That's your engine. That is. Where are you going? But I also that was
back at 6. The tide's in.
From a director that specialized in people being disemboweled and stuff, that's a very disturbing, non-gory way to die. So I think this works really well because it is, I wouldn't say it's scary, but it's kind of uneasy. Mm-hmm. It's got those great visuals of the dead Ted Danson and Galen Ross.
Well, it is scary in a way because if Stephen's got a bit of claustrophobia, so
massive.
So this would be quite claustrophobic. So claustrophobia is a fear anyway. So they don't have to be like over the top killer plants coming to life kind of thing, but you have something as simple as being pretty much buried alive, and then that potential of also being drowned.
Horrible.
So you got both of those because you're now stuck in a situation you can't get out of no matter how many times you try and wiggle, and even if you do, you're probably going to need therapy for the rest of your life.
Sure.
And there's all those nice little extras, isn't it? Like you're cringing when the really big crab comes along, and again, there's nothing he can do. So the crab's gonna annoy you while you wait to drown. That's all he's got to look forward to. Yeah. Isn't it great that Leslie Nielsen is kind of like a Bond villain in this? He's got like the sliding panels.
That's what I always think when I watch it. He comes into his locked in, what's it called? Comfort point, isn't it? His
hilariously comfort area. Point.
You can scream as much as you want. I own all of this. Now let's go to my underground bunker where I have nuclear missiles.
And he's got these incredibly elaborate, presumably rigs, so that he can pop the TV and VCR on the beach. Where's the extension lead for this in 1982? Where'd you get it from?
So you was thinking extension lead. I was thinking, how many times has he done this? Because he's got a perfect lead. The reel runs out just enough to the point. It's like, damn, need an extra meter. Can you wait there? You're back in half an hour. Just go get some Don't go anywhere.
Yeah. Well, I suppose this is it. This is a Bond movie-ish early 80s version of what A Millionaire is like. And he's treating it like it's his own TV show or something. He's relishing, and he has got a collection of all the tapes at home, hasn't he? Yes.
Your presumption is this is what he's looking at because all of it is because he never actually says that is what it is. You can't see what's on the tapes. You just go, where is it? There it is. The maid hasn't moved it, or something like that. So I presume that he must put like, I don't know, Emmerdale Farm or something on the side of it, because I doubt putting drowning of such and such on the side of the videotape would make the maid a little bit suspicious after a while.
What's this Midsummer Murders?
Drowning of Maid from 1981 till summer night. Oh, it's hired in summer of 1982. It's very strange. He said she went back to Mexico.
Well, I was wondering, I mean, is his wife so desirable that he's constantly having to get the people that are having an affair with, oh, fuck, not another one. Oh, now it's Ted Danson.
He's going to be very miffed when he sees the rest of the cast of Cheers turn up.
It's Norm.
Oh, not you as well.
Blooming Woody Harrelson showed up. It is cool to see Ted Danson. Well, it's a really good episode. I always like this one. What's your thoughts, Sarah, on this one?
Yeah, it's like really mean-spirited.
It is. It's
really
dark, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of like goes from like Father's Day being full of like mean-spirited and horrible people to good old little Geordie Verrill blowing his brains out, and then back to mean-spirited people. But yeah, no, I love this one as well because of Nielsen, because of Ted Danson, and the fact you kind of already covered it, and the really awesome like seaweed zombies and stuff. They're really cool.
Well, this one again is you don't really have anybody to be real sympathetic for, because he is doing these things to his presumably wife and his wife's lover, but also the wife and the lover have done something to wrong him. So
you don't really know who to root for here.
Yeah.
You kind of feel like kind of satiated at the end that like kind of everyone dies. Just don't be a dick.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what the name of the story is. Don't be a dick. Don't be a dick.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, it's a very sour tale, isn't it? It's almost like it came later, but it's almost like The Vanishing, where the whole point is that the husband spends the whole film trying to figure out what happened to his girlfriend, and he ends up finding out, but only by suffering the same fate, which is being buried alive. And here it's a bit like that, and in this it's even more sadistic because he gets to watch his lover dying effectively in the same scenario that he's in, which is a really sadistic, without being gory, bloody and stuff, is a really sadistic part of the show. Yeah, it's really good, and probably as dark as it gets in the film in a lot of ways.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Leslie Nielsen, and this was because he was always a straight actor up to a certain point, but this was actually after Airplane, so it must have been extra weird after the whole "Don't Call Me Shirley" thing.
I'll bury you in the beach.
Don't call me Shirley. Yes, exactly. And before, like you said, Naked Gun and Police Squad. Awesome. So what about number 4, The Crate? Tell us about number 4, Sarah.
Oh, okay. This is another really good one about two kind of university lecturers. One of them gets delivered a special crate, which has this like crazy man-eating monster in it. And he's got an absolutely awful wife who will not stop nagging him, and like he's very downtrodden. She's belittling him constantly, and you can just see it in his mind before he even knows he's going to do it, that he wants to feed her to the monster. This one's pretty gory. It's got quite a lot of blood. Like feet left in trainers and stuff like that. The Fluffy is the monster. He kind of looks kind of like a cross between a gorilla and the abominable snowman, in my opinion.
Those teeth, those choppers.
Yeah. And he just kind of like chomps his way through several people in the university by accident. And what's his name? What's Hal's actual name in the...
Hal Holbrook's character, Henry.
Yeah, Henry. Yeah. Henry manages to kind of like think up a plan to get his wife to go to the university, and inadvertently, oh no, she's accidentally been eaten by a monster type thing. Yeah. In a nutshell. But yeah, his wife Wilma is played by Adrienne Barbeau, and she's great. She's hilarious.
She's brilliant.
Oh, she's awful. Again, it's the characters in this are kind of more subtle than they have been in the other ones, because the two professors themselves are they're not very savvy. They haven't got an awful lot of common sense. They've got the brain cells for lecturing and science and stuff, but they haven't got a lot of common sense.
But
yeah.
it's also they for both of them, you don't really feel sympathetic. I mean, you might feel sympathetic towards Hal Holbrook's character.
A little bit, yeah, because she just won't let up.
But his mate, Dexter, do you feel sorry for him? Because we don't actually, we presume that he has a missus somewhere along the line. We don't really come across her at any point, but he seems to be having a lot of fun with the students.
Oh yeah, he's doing the students, yeah.
So you're kind of like, I don't know if I feel really that bad for you, because whatever's going to happen to you at some point, you probably had it coming.
Yeah.
Karma.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. It's a great cast, this one, because it's Fritz Weaver as the guy that's shagging the students, isn't it? Who becomes hysterical when the monster comes out.
Reminds me of Herbert West's friend. I just wanted his little head to be chopped off and kind of like, that's who he reminds me of.
Yeah, I get
Dr.
that.
Hill, yeah.
Yeah,
he does have that kind of that sinister air. He's in a few horror movies around this. He's in Demon Seed as well, I think, the great evil computer movie. I love Adrienne Barbeau, who was always really quite nice in horror movies, like in The Fog. You really root for her. She makes a very unusually convincing monster in this. As the awful wife. She's great, as you said. She's very cartoonish. She's like the EC Comics version of what a nagging wife is. A total monster. You know, even when she's being eaten by a monster, she managed to get one last dig in about how he's never got it up or something. You know, he's like, oh, and you got a small cock or whatever she said.
Wilma is the name.
Yeah, which fits as well. And his fantasies of like at that fancy party or whatever it is they're out of, just shooting her in the head is
and everyone
or strangling her. Yeah, they clap.
Good shot.
Tally ho. Yeah, it's fantastic. Hal Holbrook's great, and again, he was in a few horror. He's the priest in The Fog, same movie actually as old Adrienne. But it was always good to see people like him in horror movies because they play these roles so well.
Did you have any of you picked up the mention on the side of the crate?
Oh, the Arctic, the thing.
Mm-hmm. The thing, yes, from the Thing.
Yes.
Julia Carpenter, isn't it?
From the Thing.
Yes, the date is the Arctic expedition.
Yes.
In the Thing,
which was out the same summer as 82, isn't it? So the same year as Creepshow.
If you look very carefully, it's in it for like a split second. But if you watch Jason Goes to Hell, the crate's in that as well.
Oh, it's in the basement, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the Voorhees house they go to? And for some reason they've got the crate in.
Just like you do. Well, it went in the river, and now I've got it.
Yeah. And they have the Necronomicon in there as well, don't they? It's like a museum. Like it's
like Predator 2 has all the different skulls and things from different aliens. And Jason Goes to Hell has all these things from other movies. Well, we could tie this in at some point.
Yes. No, the crate's great actually. The crate's good fun. Great monster.
Yes.
And yeah, I think she kind of steals it as truly this awful character, and maybe he is the most sympathetic guy along with Geordie Verrill.
Mm-hmm.
Just not because he's particularly nice, but because he's got to put up with her. You know, it's by default, I suppose. But it's good to see him feeding her to the monster.
It does make you laugh though, because this crate was from 1834, so we presume it must have went underneath there at some point then around about that year. And this film's in 1982, so you tell me nobody's ever noticed that crate under there in the 100 and however many years? Because that building definitely does not look like it's over 100 years old. So does that mean the crate got put there later?
Delivered by Tesco by mistake. It was like a substitution.
Yeah, so you ordered Brussels sprouts, so we're going to give you fairy liquid instead. You'd be fine with that, wouldn't you? No, not really. It's make my salad taste weird, but okay.
They genuinely do that, you know. We're out of cat food, but we've given you pedigree chum. What the?
That's actually quite a good substitute because it's not really that much difference in it, really. It's when they do something like you ordered bleach, but we're going to give you vodka. Well, I I guess it's going to do the same thing. It's going to pickle my insides, I suppose. The only
Well,
difference is
I remember, not for myself, I might add, I remember them genuinely asking, oh, sorry, 0 to 3 months nappies, Huggies or whatever are out of stock. We've got these 2 years plus ones. Are they all right? No,
are these for your missus?
actually, yes, they were. How do you
That
know?
makes-
Oh, you've seen the videos. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Oh, the videos. Oh, yeah.
Man, did you think it was too much? I mean, she'd really
To be
eaten
honest,
bad stuff that day.
To be honest, I didn't think it was that bad. I did think maybe you should have had more sort of like a cutaway scene, maybe pull away from it expelling out, maybe. But you kind of just blacked away, went to credits, which really ruined the scene for me because I had to I had to kind of Rosemary Baby it, imagine it.
Oh, well, we were trying to be discreet.
Which I didn't. Well, discreet you were. I mean, I didn't mind. It was quite nice in the shower, just imagining.
Oh, you watched it in the shower? Wow. How'd you get your TV in there?
Well, I got in touch with Leslie Nielsen. He had this amazing extension.
Wow. You plugged it in at like the beach at Comfort Point, and
yes. So here you go, and here you go. Here's some binoculars. Don't look over there. Look over towards the beach. Oh, okay.
He thinks of everything.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy, really.
And he's a policeman as well. Oh, that's amazing, isn't it?
I think that's why I got away with it, because he's like, this is how you get away with things.
There's some great gags in the Naked, actually in Police Squad, which used to be quite underrated because everybody liked the Naked Gun, but the Police Squad kind of just slipped away.
Yeah.
There's some fantastic gags in there. I think it's one of my favorite. I don't watch a lot of comedies, but yeah, I love that.
I can't remember exactly how it goes, but in Police Squad, there's a conversation where somebody gets murdered in a bank, and they're interviewing the lady who was there with the murder, and they was going, tell me about the teller. No, Tom Teller. No, that's that guy. And they keep saying all these different names, and she's like, no, that's this guy. He works for that. And then it's like, but who killed this guy? I don't know who that guy was. It goes on for a good 5 minutes, and it's all shot in one scene. I was like, God, that must have taken a bit of rehearsal.
and the genius, of course, was that they had straight actors like George Kennedy and Leslie Nielsen in these things, and that's what made it so funny, because they were acting like they were in a serious movie.
So funny.
They're great. An Airplane has the best gags with the pilot, which is Peter Graves, I think. Joey, have you ever seen a grown man naked? Would you like to a Turkish prison?
Oh my God, I love it. They're great.
Just hilarious. I could watch those anytime. Yeah, number 5, the 5th and finale of CREEPSHOw.
Up on you.
Yeah. Now this was, for me, a big one. Yeah, that's it really. Yeah, because I mean, it was a great cover for Fangoria. I can't remember what issue. I used to remember the issue number, but one of the very early ones has the punchline. The cover of Fangoria has the punchline of the bugs coming out of his chest.
Oh.
Or out of the fake EJ Marshall's chest. And at the time, this was always my favorite, just because it was so memorably icky. Because the bugs, the cockroaches, the spotlessness of his apartment, this penthouse apartment, and he's fantastic. E.G. Marshall, a great character actor, but he's fantastic as this kind of Howard Hughesy, what's the word, obsessive compulsive kind of guy. Cleanliness,
mysophobia is what he has, or germophobia, as is also known.
Yeah, and he says things. Everyone's got herpes, and bug obsessed, and he's great. I mean, he's a fantastic actor, but because everything's so white, and because everybody's freaked out by these disgusting bugs, and the punchline is so disgusting, I think this one always stood out for me. I don't know if it's the best one, but it's very straightforward, and it's really well done. And obviously the difference these days is that they went to the effort of using millions or thousands of real cockroaches and building the E.G. Marshall dummy or whatever, and that really I think makes it really fun. What about yourself, Pete? Your big bad self?
Well, I would say yes. It isn't like the most. I guess for some people it wouldn't be that most memorable one, but because it's towards the end, it is the one that sticks with you, because you remember all you're thinking is there's all these creepy bugs bouncing around everywhere. If I don't know, if you put I don't know, let's say something that ties you over at the end, would you have remembered it as much? or would you be like maybe kind of went at the end of the film?
Well, it's a downer, isn't it, that one? Because it's the cruelest one, maybe, and this has got the most kind of crowd-pleasing bit of the bugs are bursting out. Bugs got your tongue kind of punchline, yeah.
That's the thing with that anthology films. You have to kind of balance it out. So you have a decent opening, a middle that's could be memorable, but you also had to leave people walking away with it and thinking, oh, that was quite good. If you have the wrong ending, that's usually the thing that people remember because they're just didn't really enjoy that.
Yeah.
But again, with anthology films, you could just go, I'm just going to watch that story again. Which obviously with DVD and Blu-ray is a lot easier. The VHS, you go, oh, well, my favorite story is an hour and 20 minutes into the film, rewind forward. And yeah, I'm going to get there. So, yeah, I quite like it. I think the special effects in it's quite good. And I quite like, he said, E.G. Marshall's Upson Pratt, this
comic book name.
Yeah, bit of a twattish
Scrooge-ish
thing. Yeah, because he's kind of like, oh, he's died, is he? Yeah. Well, because I don't need to fire him now.
Yeah.
And I liked, I can't remember his real name. David Early, that played Mr. White.
Oh, yeah.
I quite liked him because you're kind of like, does he have something to do with all these bugs being in the building? That's why it's my fault. So does he have something to do with all these bugs being inside Pratt's room, inside the cereal and everything? Because he's said he's been there for however long, and it's always been clean. But David Early's character is very much in a kind of sorry, kind of like, oh, you got bugs again, have you? Funny that. But you're kind of like, in my eyes anyway, it's like, did you have something to do with this? So that's why you're really not rushing around to get on and do things. You're like, no, you treat me like crap, so this is my turn. Kind of thing.
Yeah, possibly. He's well, it's a one-man show apart from that guy, really, isn't it? It's another Geordie Verrill because you're mostly just watching him meet his downfall.
Well, you have a few voices. You have a few voices over the phone.
Yeah.
Ned Beatty's in it. One of his voices in a part of it somewhere.
Ah, okay, cool. But it has that weird look, doesn't it? Because it looks weirdly futuristic, but he's got a jukebox in there and
an old phone.
Yes. Yeah, but he's obviously and he's this, I don't know, big CEO or something, isn't he? And he's talking to his underlings. It's unique to the film because it doesn't look like any of the other ones. It's not got all the primary colors and stuff, which and definitely it totally makes sense they put this last because it does have in 1982 especially, it's got the punchline that everyone would be talking about. The bugs, hence the Fangoria cover feature at the time. What do you think?
What's the matter, Mr. Pratt? Bugs got your tongue.
Yeah, which is a typical. They use there's a cat's got your tongue punchline to the end of the Uncanny as well. The anthology a bit before this, but that's such an EC Comics line. It's probably lifted directly from one of or a variation of it. What's your thoughts on this one, Sarah?
Do you think they deliberately made, like when he's speaking through the peephole and stuff, and you can really see people's mouths?
Oh yeah, that was done on purpose. I would say that's done on purpose to show because he's Pratt's character is a germaphobe, so he doesn't like seeing us. So to show the guy, unclean teeth and his dirty smoke-ridden tongue, and he kind of like.
Constantly. I'm of the same opinion. I mean, the ending is really great, but this isn't definitely not one of my favorites. I think I kind of like switch off a little bit during this one after the crate. I switch off a little bit until the ending when like all the bugs like kind of come in and you kind of feel like he gets his just desserts, just revenge is sweet type thing. But yeah, this isn't. I think this is my least favorite one. Hey, sorry.
For dramatic effect.
What's your least favorite then?
Oh yeah, favorites time. Oh, least favorite. Oh, are we starting with least?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, crumbs.
So you can include the wraparound story because that is a story in its own.
Oh yeah, well I'm not bothered, but in that case, the wraparound story, yeah, that's a bit boring.
Well, don't be harsh. I mean, what the hell?
I could take or leave the wraparound. I mean, it is what it is. It's just it's a A to B thing, isn't it? It's just like some wraparounds are really good. Like I don't know, the Amicus movies had great wraparounds, but this one, yeah, it's okay. It does its job, but there's nothing interesting about it. So that would be my last.
Yeah, I'd go with the wraparound story as well. It is what it is. It gets you from A to B, which is what you need.
Yeah.
Sarah?
Well, are we going with the next one up? Because I've already said they could.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's-
she's already told us she hates it. Sucks. like you seen with Halloween film by Rob.
oh, I just had to say that's not me, but yeah, no worries.
My least
Number 5. Is it number 5? Yes, I suppose
Yes.
it is. Yes. Number 5, Sarah. What's your 5th?
Oh, if we're going to go, well, I'll go wraparound for that then, because not an awful lot happens, but I do like the voodoo doll bit. That's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. I'd go with probably they're creeping up on you, the bug one.
Oh, interesting.
You?
Oh, yeah. Sorry about this.
Feel free to join it anytime, Stephen.
Oh, well, in that case, although I don't dislike it, I'd have to go for Geordie Verrill because I don't think it's as good as the other ones. It is what it is. It's a sketch. It's a gag, which is really good, but it's, that's my number 5.
Okay, cool. Next, it'd probably be the crate.
Oh. So I'm just making these ooh sounds just because. Oh, I say, handbag. Pete.
Yes.
What's
You
your
finally
number 4?
become a man. Congratulations.
Oh, Mom and Dad.
Whoa. Welcome to McDonald's.
Miss Patterson. What's your number 4, Pete?
Number 4, probably Lonesome Death from Geordie Verrill.
Okie doke. Oh shit, is it my turn? Oh yeah. The next one. Oh, next one.
There's a way of working this one out. There's 3 of us.
The next one is, for me, it's Father's Day would be my next one because it's good. It's short. It does its thing. I don't think it's as memorable as the other ones, despite I Want My Cake and the really good Maggoty Zombie.
Yeah, I'd say Father's Day was my next one. Where are we at? 3.
Yeah, my next one was going to be Father's Day.
Sweet.
Cool. Sarah. Oh no, wait, you've just done it.
It's you.
Oh God.
Stephen, pick up the dice for God's sake. We'll be here all day.
Oh no, I'm really struggling with it. Yes, right, I'm back. I'm in the room. It's all going to be okay. So the next one, I would say The Crate, which I think is possibly a wee bit overextended, but lots of good things about it. Monster's great. How Adrienne Barbeau makes it, I think.
Cool. And then my number 2
Number 2
is the Ted Danson one.
Ooh,
Something to tide you over.
Something to tide you over, yes.
I'm going to go with The Crate.
Ooh.
I would say Creeping Up on You because again, it's the one. For a long time, it was my most memorable one. Yeah.
Geordie Verrill's my favourite.
Oh, yeah. Geordie.
My first is Something to Tide You Over. Just because I like the fact that Leslie Nielsen's playing a character that most people wouldn't really think he could play.
Yeah.
So, Stephen, what is your number 1 of Creepshow?
Creepshow. Well, I think it's changed over the years. Like probably young me would have said They're Creeping Up on You, which was memorable, and it had the Fangoria cover and all that kind of stuff. And I like The Crate, but actually, the more I watch it, as I've gotten older, Something to Tide You Over has to be the number 1. It's the one that works really well, I think, and it's the one that's gruesome, but it's not really got the gore of The Crate or the money shots of They're Creeping Up on You, but it's the cruelest one, and the idea of being buried like that is something that freaks you out. Maybe as you get older, I don't know, but it does me. So that's my number 1, and also for the cast. The cast is a kind of once in a lifetime team up of Ted Danson and Leslie Nielsen, which that's a big part of it too. It's a great one.
Okay, then that's it. Then we've covered Creepshow. Then, so I guess we have no choice now but to go on to Creepshow 2 of 1987. So we'll let Stephen kick off for this.
Yeah, Creepshow 2, 1987. This was actually just like Creepshow, the first one. This was a big kind of exciting thing at the time, a VHS rental that I think we must have bought it at some stage on the big box X rental used copy from the video shop for probably like £15 or something. That was expensive at the time. Oh, bargain that, so we can watch it
So about the
anytime
same
we
price.
like.
The same price
Over and
is
over.
on eBay nowadays. Then.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, like Creepshow, the fun of this is that there's different stories. So if you're not massively keen on one, there's a good one coming up. Although in this case, there's only 3. Budget cuts. It's not directed by George Romero. He wrote it, adapting the Stephen King stories. Pinball and Cat from Hell were 2 stories that would have made it a 5-strong film like the original, but didn't make it to the final selection due to those reasons. Although Cat from Hell is a fantastic episode of Tales from the Dark Side, the movie, which perhaps another time we'll talk about, but it's really good. It does, I suppose, in a way, because of that, it feels like a kind of unofficial Creepshow 3 because it's got the Romero connection, but that's a really good anthology.
That's usually what fans, because you got Creepshow 3, which we'll talk about later, but people do kind of say Tales from the Dark Side, the movie is basically the unofficial Creepshow 3 because it's got that same style into it anyway. And you mentioned Cat from Hell then, but you also mentioned Pit and Fall. I presume you must have read the comic book, Stephen, that came in the recent Arrow release of it.
You'd think I would have, right? But I haven't yet. I've looked at it. I looked at the cover and go, oh, I'll read that. I'll pop that on the shelf. And in 2096, I'll definitely read that. Wait, that year hasn't happened, has it? What year? Oh, yeah, 2 years. I got the years. For a minute, I thought that was the past. Yes. Yeah. No, I haven't. No.
Well, in that case, then, as you haven't read it and Sarah hasn't read the book, I would just say it's a good read, and it would have made an interesting episode, though I imagine the budget would have been a bit probably out of the budgetary constraints for Creepshow 2, so I can kind of see why it got dropped out. So it would have been interesting to maybe have done it in the future as a, an episode or something, or like a short film for something. But yeah, the comic book is enough to cover you over for your intrigue of it.
Yeah, that's true. And it's a nice touch for that Arrow release of Creepshow 2 to include it. So you are able to piece together your own unofficial Creepshow 2 by combining those mediums. But yeah, the gang's all here, kind of. So Romero's writing instead of directing. Michael Gornick, who shot the original in a really fantastic way, he's now directing. Stephen King's stories are involved, and he has kind of his default slack-jawed yokel cameo as a truck driver, which is great because it's fantastic that such an obviously smart man types himself as simpletons, like the dude at the start of Maximum Overdrive that gets slagged off by the cash machine, oh, fuck off, or whatever what does the cash machine say, cut your hair or something, or
something like that,
so yeah, I think that's a great trend. And I think it does continue, although he's a priest in Pet Sematary, so he's got like a promotion in that one. He's got a bit more authority as a man of the cloth. David Holbrook is in this, the son of Hal, so there's a Holbrook connection. Savini's back, albeit as the creep, who forms part of the kind of the weird framing story of this is Savini is the creep that's voiced by someone else, and a rather naff kind of children's 80s TV animation with a kid that ends up with a Venus flytrap from the comic, which, to be honest, in not this time, but in some rewatches, I have fast forwarded through the kind of cheapo animated bit, which is there. But otherwise, that's the framing story.
I'm not quite sure why they did the animation, but it was
needed,
kind of,
is it?
It kind of fits in with the comic book style, as I said in a past time, that it kind of got like a Dungeons and Dragons kind of cartoon-esque look to it. But I don't see how it would have saved them money doing it that way, because animation's expensive in its own right to do.
Yeah.
True.
So I'm not quite sure. Just had Tom Savini in the back of the truck like he is in the first part, or just maybe a bit later on down the road, and then him introduces. I don't know. Maybe it also said there was budgetary constraints for this sequel, so I'm sure there was a reason to it, but what that was, I have no idea.
unless they were short of running time. Like it's quite a short. It's under 90 minutes, and maybe it would have been too short with just the creep by Savini. He had to beef up the. I don't know. It's just a guess. The running time.
Yeah.
Maybe that's it. I mean, back then, of course, 90-minute was probably your average running time for a movie. Now it's quite different, but a horror movie especially was rarely as long as 2 hours, like Creepshow was, which at least had the excuse of being 5 stories. The Shining isn't a rare kind of long, older horror movie now. Like Midsummer's 3 hours long. It's crazy now, mental. Like no restraint, no self-restraint these days, is there? I know. The same's true of that guy down the road. So 3 stories then, chaps. So Old Chief Woodenhead is the first one.
Yeah.
Which is good. So what do you think of this one, Sarah? Give us a bit of a rundown of Old Chief Woodenhead.
Okie dokie. Old Chief Woodenhead is basically a wooden statue that stands outside a general store, and it's owned by a lovely couple, which is played by George Kennedy and Dorothy Lamour.
Yeah.
Yes.
Lovely little elderly old couple that have obviously owned this store like their entire lives. They've like seen like families growing up in their town and stuff, and it's kind of like emptying out, like the place is closing down. There's very little around now, so they're kind of like wondering what's going on. How should they keep the store any longer? That kind of a thing. They're getting bullied by some locals, which doesn't really help. But George seems to love his Chief Woodenhead statue, who he lovingly looks after and restores him and paints him and puts on his wall paint. They obviously have quite a few like Native Americans in the town. They kind of like are very respectful to them. The chief of the town owes them money. They obviously like buy stuff at the store. He owes them money, but he can't afford to pay. So he kind of bequeaths them the tribe's kind of, is it jewels?
Yes. It's the tribe's sacred treasures. So it's a collection of jewels from all the different families in a tribe.
Yeah, so he kind of like entrusts them to George to look after until he can actually pay him back. But in the meantime, some like ruffians, one of which is he the son of the chief?
He's the nephew.
The nephew of the chief. He's a bit of a tit and like thinks he's it, and he wants to go to Hollywood and become a movie star because
based on his hair.
His hair's going to get me to Hollywood.
Hair. Yeah, his hair's going to make him a star. And to do that, they have to steal from the shop to run off to Hollywood and become a star.
As all great Hollywood streams are made of.
Absolutely, that's how everyone's story goes. I got here by murdering an old couple in a shop. Yeah, so basically they kind of bully them, start off just intimidating them, and then the young chap kind of like takes things a little bit too far and ends up killing them, and then they kind of run. They're like, what the hell have we done? The 2 other guys run home, and they're like, right, okay, we're going to go to Hollywood now before anyone realises. But little do they realise is that Old Chief Woodenhead, the statue outside the shop, knows what they did and stalks them in the evening and kills them in quite gruesome ways. I think the nephew of the chief gets scalped quite nicely, and the only thing that's kind of like left, like you find in the morning, that the chief is stood there holding his scalp, which is kind of cool.
Yes.
I quite like Chief Woodenhead. I suppose it probably does go on for a little bit. It could have been shortened down a bit, but it is a kind of like, kids get their comeuppance, revenge attacks, and the village will sort them out type thing.
I don't know if it's the main bit when Chief Woodenhead comes alive that's too long. I think it's more the bit where they're introducing Ray and Martha as the elderly couple that looks after the town. I mean, you kind of established that in like the first 2 minutes. You didn't really need to drag it on for another 10 so minutes.
Yeah, and the whole ordeal in the shop could have been shortened down quite a lot.
Yes. Basically, what Sarah's saying, she just wanted the 2 old people to die quickly.
Yeah. Make them die quickly and then have like, gratuitous killing from the statue.
I like Let Them Die Quickly. That's like a sequel to Make Them Die Slowly.
Yeah.
Yes. Coming from Asylum next year.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's shocking. I think that one of the things that gives it a bit of edge, because it is a bit kind of, oh yeah, okay, it's not bad, but it's not kind of
No.
exciting. But I think one of the things that gives it the edge is that George Kennedy's quite a nice, reliable Hollywood presence in movies, including Naked Gun, I think, which came out after this.
Yes.
And Dorothy D'Amour is a throwback to old Hollywood from being in like road movies with Bob Hope and Bing Crosby. So I think it's quite shocking. It's quite touching to see them as a married couple. If you're a kind of stuck in the old days fan of old movies like me, but it's also quite shocking because you don't often see old people callously killed in this fashion. On even in horror movies, it doesn't happen that much. It seems to happen. So I think that's quite a jarring moment. And maybe there's something quite sweet about the dying town, previously kind of thriving town, and they're the last relics of it, and the connection to the Native Americans is quite, I suppose, quite interesting. But yeah, it's a bit kind of like
Yeah, bit pedestrian.
Yeah, pedestrian. That's probably the best way to describe it. And it may be, I know things were more restrained with gore, with censor issues and MPAA in the 80s, late 80s, especially when stuff got quite tame. But the payoffs are maybe not. Maybe the payoffs of the comeuppance of the, what is it, rich boy fat stuff, and
I can't remember the name of the.
It's Sam.
Was it Sam? Sam. Yeah.
Sam Whitemoon.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, Sam. If the payoffs of those quite despicable villains had been more exciting, that they're a bit discreet. Maybe they're too discreet for it to really get the punchy finale that it needs.
Yeah, you could have. Yeah, they don't really show an awful lot, like with the rich guy getting hacked to pieces in his garage. You just know that's happening. You don't get to see it.
I think that kind of works though for this, because as we're discussed with the other two short stories in this, is that the graphic goreness of each one goes up a level. So this one, you get the subtle bit where like you mentioned, the person died in the garage, splatter of blood on the wall. The next person is, arrows through parts of his body. Then the guy gets scalped. You don't see all of that. You just implies most of it. And then of course we come to the raft, and then the hitchhiker later on, and the violence is gone up. So
that's really true, man. Yeah, that makes sense. And I never occasionally, I think I thought about this recently when I watched the Amicus Asylum, the 70s anthology, where I think there was some arguments in the making of it about which story should go first and about the pacing of the whole film. And I never thought about anthologies, that being such an important thing. And yeah, that makes sense that this is quite sleepy compared to the gaudier things. The Hitchhiker is obviously the most mental one at the very end, and the Raft has got a couple of really
some gory bits.
Aspects.
Yes.
So it makes sense that they'd want an escalation. So if this was the last one, people would have gone off a bit bored, but ending on the Hitchhiker, people would have been talking about it. So
true.
The trouble with this one, the trouble with this one is because there's only 3 stories, and like you mentioned, in an anthology film, you want to bring people into watching the film, and like most of the anthology films, you might not like this story, but you might like another one a bit later on. But you've also got to try and entice the audience, and if you can't entice the audience with the first story, and if like most people's like the TikTok kind of thing that people are into now, that their level of wanting to watch something has gone down dramatically. So if you can't hook people in a matter of seconds nowadays, but then it would have been in the first 10 or 20 minutes, then people are kind of going, well, I'll just carry on watching it, but is it something I'm going to watch later on? Probably not.
Yeah.
So I think the trouble is with this one, because there was only 3, where would you have put this? Because it is the sleeper out, the 3. So you can't really put it in the middle, because people are like, it's a bit of a
a bit of a
middle.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying I reckon they scheduled it like this, so it was because of the gore levels. Because that's the only way I could see it working. Because there's nowhere else you can really put it. Because you put it right at the end, people are going to leave and go, it's not as good as the first one, is it?
And the same would have been true if Pinfall and Cat from Hell had been in it, I guess, because Cat from Hell's got a proper big climax and stuff. Exactly. So, That makes sense. I totally messed up my TikTok account. I was taking my top off in like the first couple of seconds, but yeah,
That's a TikTok then.
I'm gonna, yes, I'm gonna have to redo those videos, especially with those pants. Okay, yeah, well, Ultra Footenhead, yeah, it ticks its box. It's all right. It's not the most memorable. However, we get to the raft, or as some people say, the raft.
The raft.
The raft.
I was going to say about before you jump onto the raft. It is funny seeing George Kennedy, who I don't know how old he was in this, but he's
86 by the looks of it.
Yeah. He's always seemed like an old doddery man.
Yeah.
Bit like Steve Martin. We've always seen Steve Martin with grey hair. So
With grey
you see him
hair.
now, and he's still got grey hair. And you're like, how old is he? He's just living on and on and on. So seeing George Kennedy hobble around like an 80-year-old person in this is kind of amusing to watch, because he probably was pretty able to move around quite quickly.
Oh yeah, well yeah, because in Naked Gun he's not retired. He's still a cop. He's Leslie Nielsen, straight man.
Stephen, he's not a cop in Old Chief Woodenhead.
No, he's not. No, and he should still be.
That's the other thing though, is that, as you said, that those two came together for Naked Gun, but they did Police Squad together as well. So Creepshow had Leslie Nielsen. This one has George Kennedy. So you got that kind of linkage.
The link,
going still there.
George Kennedy's great in Cool Hand Luke. I think he won the Oscar for that, and indeed in the old Hag horrors, Straight Jacket and Hush Hush Sweet Charlotte. But yeah, even then in the 60s. He was born. He came out of the womb about 50 years old. Oh, it's a boy. Oh, Christ, it's George Kennedy. What the fuck?
It's an old man.
But here, yes, you're right. He is doing the kind of sitcom version of an old person. You know, oh my knees.
Yes.
Oh, since they closed the road. Yes.
The wraparound story that we only have a brief chat about is that the boy's called Billy again. But I don't know if he's supposed to be the same Billy from the first film. I mean, yes, it's a different actor. It's a different actor playing him, but the name's the same. So you kind of like got that. And the creep does go, oh, you couldn't wait for the next episode, next issue. So it's kind of that. Is he the same Billy, or is it just coincidentally that this is another person called Billy, not played by Joe King this time?
Oh, you're joking. Oh, you mean Joe King? Yeah.
Joe King. Joe Hill.
Yes, I think he's a silly Billy. This one.
He is. He doesn't do a lot, does he? He sits on his bike.
Yeah, he's a bit too dimensional as well.
Especially when he gets the animation bits. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, I guess the intention is the continuity of that. Yeah. But yeah, it does its thing. It connects them, doesn't it? It's I guess it's inoffensive.
But the other thing I was going to say about Chief Woodenhead, did you watch the extras on the Arrow release, Stephen?
I think so. Yeah, I watched some of them. I don't know if I watched all of them in the end.
So I did find it interesting that the guy who was Chief Woodenhead, as in when he was moving around, was a mime.
Oh yeah, which makes sense. Yeah.
So they managed to get somebody to do, good enough
Professional miming.
Yeah, exactly. So it was quite good.
Yeah.
Credentials.
Well, it's quite an interesting setup, I suppose. It's just maybe need a bit more pizzazz. He's quite an unusual antagonist, sympathetic, of course. Well, yeah, that makes sense. Good old mimes. I'm still freaked out by mimes, but they're very talented.
And then we, as you said, we was going to talk about the raft before I interrupted you. But yes, now we go into the raft or the raft, depending on who you are, or what shire you're from.
It's always the raft for me.
Oh, in Norfolk, yes, I suppose in Norfolk it is the raft.
It is. Yep, it's the raft.
Yeah, the raft. Just the raft, Sarah.
Should we pop on the raft and go for it?
What? Potato. Who says potato? Yes.
You lot talk funny down there.
I've got my raft parked outside. We do. Yes, Toffwood, a posh suburb of Deer, which means nothing to anybody.
All around here, we all talk proper around here.
We're from Devon. I don't know where that is, actually. I'm not sure where that is.
I don't know where Devon is. Dear. Well, I suppose you didn't know where the record button was for this, so okay.
What is this Skype? What's this newly fangled shite? Yes, the raft. Oh yes, the
The
raft. Yes. Oh,
Raft.
I do like the raft.
Well, that's not covered out because we all said that have the raft in different ways. So okay,
Awesome.
we'll move on to this
So
one.
Hitchhiker.
that's done. No, we
I'm
have,
sure,
we
there's
have
a memorable part of the raft.
Oh,
but
the
we
raft
can't
is
go down
all
this.
memorable.
something to do with a bin bag.
Yellow
The
briefs.
bin bag,
Oh.
yes.
But I have just read, I didn't realise this to start off with, but the 4 students that visit the raft
Yes.
are actually
Raft.
from Horlicks University, which was the university featured in the first film, in the crate. I did not know. I didn't realise that. I did not twig that at the time. I only just figured that out.
Yes, another little linkage to the first film.
Yeah.
Nice though.
Talking of which, does anybody drink Horlicks before bedtime out of interest?
No.
No, we're not that old.
Popular malt drink. Oh, just checking.
It's just you.
Yeah.
The Oval team was too much for me, so I've switched.
You switched to the Horlicks.
This is a good one, isn't it? This is like
This is the most memorable
Yeah.
one that people. People say. Well, people say CREEPSHOW too. The first thing they say is, "Oh, that's the one with the bin bag in the water."
The bin bag.
the raft.
The most memorable bin bag you'll ever see in a movie.
Yes.
He's the star of the show. Bin
It
bag McGraw.
is.
I've been to
Going to
Morrison's.
Hollywood.
I've been
Did they
to
have-
Morrison's with Stephen in Norfolk, and no matter how many times we walk down the aisle where you find the polish and the bin bags, he still freaks out. He has a right meltdown when we walk past.
Can't do it. I can't do it.
So,
Yeah,
come on,
yeah,
Steve, we can do it. We can do it. Come on, we can do it.
I'll use a carrier bag, all right. Just stop forcing me.
But
Just
that's
don't let me
only
go
a
near the bin
baby.
bags.
That's only a baby bin bag, Stephen.
Baby bin bag.
It'll still
Was-
get me.
Was the bin bag played by a mime?
Starring that guy
alas,
from
no,
Chief
it was,
Woodenhead.
it was played by divers, though.
Ooh.
Ah,
There you go.
there we go. That's why
Well.
it moves so naturally across the water.
Yes.
It's pretty authentic, isn't it? I was on board with it as a
Well, if you've never seen an oil slick like Randy,
Tie handle.
not Randy, Laverne, then yes, you wouldn't
That's
know how
how
an
they
oil slick
move.
moves.
Yeah. He has no clue.
He's
What
Randy
an oil
as
slick
well.
I've never seen an oil slick.
Do they even exist?
Yes.
That is one of the funniest bits. But yeah, I mean, considering how funny it is, and you can just laugh at the silly little bin bag kind of floating around them on the raft, it does actually get
Raft.
quite gruesome at times when
Proper gruesome.
the first little like glimmer you get, because I think I kind of miss it to start off with, is the duck.
Yes.
The bin bag.
Bin bag
should
from
probably-
doom.
Probably stop calling it the bin bag. I'm going to have to call it the bin bag from now on. The bin bag kind of like starts to waft its way.
What do you prefer
in
to
the
call it? A rubbish bag?
It's not rubbish.
No, we'll stick with bin bag. I'm trying to think of something a little bit more sinister than the bin bag.
Oh, the
But
bin bag from doom.
The bin bag is
I
coming.
think bin bag is quite offensive. I think it probably identifies as some kind of extraordinarily efficient refuse device.
That was going so
Maybe.
well, Steve, until you got to that end bit.
So that really fell away.
It's like one of those improv bits that go so well, and it just tails off at the end.
Device. Yeah. Bin bags, bin bags everywhere deserve representation, man. I mean, you're so down on bin bags. God. Best
Littering,
supporting
that's
bin
what
bag
it
could
is.
have gone for the Oscar.
I apologize.
Perfectly
So-
round.
So, as we've only got as far as telling people about the raft and the bin bag, do we actually want to tell people what it is?
The yellow briefs of that guy that wears the yellow briefs, aren't they kind of quite small?
Yellow?
But
Oh,
briefs have got bigger.
It is a
Briefs
lovely
used to be
sight.
brief. Do people still wear briefs? I genuinely don't know. That's a real question.
I think so. Yeah, they're still around.
Briefs are still around.
Yeah,
have to.
they're still just as fashionable as they were back then.
Well, I'm going to start
yes.
wearing them again.
Get your briefs out.
So, just to get us back on track slightly. So, so the 4 people that are going on this journey to the lake that dear old Randy has procured for the weekend, because he's aware that nobody will be there. Though when they get there, I don't see why anybody would want to be there anyway.
Wait.
It's a metropolis, apparently. Everybody wants to come to this lake.
I know America's weird and messed up, but just like this country. But they drove 50 miles to this particular lake for this raft? Is that the gist of it? They drove way.
Randy he's the one with the know-how. He fixes things. He knows how to hook people up with the right things, like a raft.
It's a raft like no other.
Yes, exactly. So that's why they drove away. But it's him with Deke and Laverne and Rachel. As Sarah mentioned, they're all students from Horlicks University, and they're driving out to spend some time. Typical 80s stuff. Bit of fun, bit of smoking, bit of drinking, and maybe a little sex later on if you're lucky.
Oh, let's hope so. Yeah.
I meant in the films.
Not on the raft though. There's not enough space.
Ah, you get splinters. I don't. They whereas until you got the beach. You got the beach. You get sand everywhere and crevices that you didn't know you had crevices, and you got disgraceful. I'd just done it in the water.
They're gonna Oh, that's so cold in there though. You'd get the old yeah, exactly. And they left the car battery would have wound down because they left the music playing and the door open.
Silly
God's
fools.
sake. They are. They are proper slasher movie protagonists, and because it's the weed, it's the booze, getting laid, and I don't know, but this has to be one of the earliest references to Top Gun with the inevitable "I feel the need for weed."
I feel the need for weed.
Top Gun would have been a new film then.
Yes,
and we don't mean Maverick. We mean the original Maverick. Yeah, no. It's,
so yes,
it's good.
They all, as I mentioned, we go down there. They all turn up at this little lake type thing, and they all get stripped off, swim out, which in this very, very obvious looking cold water, and get to the raft, which, as Sarah mentioned, there's this mysterious bin bag which swallowed a duck earlier, and now it's getting closer and closer to the raft where these 4 little cretins are sitting, waiting for... I call them cretins because they are, especially that Randy.
I don't even know what oil slicks are.
You don't. Oh, not you as well, Sarah. Oh no. I didn't get an oil slick because surely he went to in America's case, the gas station to fill up his car. Usually there's, oil slicks and things all there. People spilling.
No, they don't exist.
That's true. I'm wrong.
Just put gas in your car. That'll just make it fail, won't it? Just put petrol in.
Yeah.
It's so English.
Yes.
Petrol. Not gas.
Petrol.
Yes. So they all get down to the raft, and then they spot that mysterious blob-like creature, which is a bin bag or an oil slick, depending on who you are. And as it gets closer and closer, Rachel decides to, as you would, just out of curiosity, what is it? What is this mysterious thing? She puts her hand into the lake. Oh no! Poor Rachel. She shouldn't have done that because
poke it with a stick.
The blob creature, the bin bag, jumps up at her like stuff and gests her and pulls her in, which is a nice little moment. I would have gathered it was done in reverse, going by looking of it.
It's really well done though. Yeah. All tendrils.
So she gets swallowed by the blob-like creature, and then of course, then the other 3 are just stuck because they don't know what to do because they just saw their friend disappear, and how could they possibly outswim this thing? Stephen, how would they do it? Do you know how they would do it?
How do you outswim that thing? That thing's terrifying. Yeah, no, you just can't know. But it does become Jaws with a bin bag when the guy's trying to outswim him. I do like it. It's a good idea that the nice girl dies and that kind of odd one survives for a bit. The nice girl's the first one to die, isn't she? The kind of shy, the one that would have been a final girl in a slasher movie kind of character. I think that's quite grim. It was that time of ooky things that were like The Stuff and The Blob. I think the Blob remake came out after this, so it's part of that kind of Blob influence.
You don't really have like most of the stories in the Creepshow things. They are based sort of the EC comic-y kind of style. Is that karma thing, or people getting their just desserts? So in this case, you have Randy, who's being very Randy later on because it's him and the girls. She's sleeping on the raft, and he decides to have a good old perv at her while she's sleeping. and decides
Yep.
to grope her. And then, So what happens a bit later on when, unfortunately for her, she gets swallowed up by the thing as well. Randy decides to try and outswim it, which he does. Congratulations to him, he does outswim it and gets to the beach and says, "I beat you," which is then when the creature jumps out of the water and attacks him with a big old wave. Oh, there's a cat turned up.
Oh yeah, sorry,
the cat from hell.
The cat is trying to tell me about the bin bag. He wasn't a fan of the bin bag. It's too scary.
I thought the cat episode was removed from this one. I went to Tales from the Dark Side.
This is the cat from hell.
Everyone's a critic.
I mean, this is kind of cool because it's Greg Nicotero and Howard Berger doing the special effects for this.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, the melting bodies and like disintegrating faces and stuff are really well done and quite. You kind of go, oh, I think judging from the way that's done, I know who did this. You know, it was Tom Savini and stuff like that. So
it does amuse me that Randy swims to the beachside, lakeside, and sort of goes about a meter away from the water, and then just that I beat you. I mean, if you had seen your friends just swallowed by this thing, wouldn't you get as far away from the water as possible?
You would before you start, like gloating at it. But then considering what it had done, you know, it might kind of like move quite swiftly up behind him, but you wouldn't expect it to suddenly like rear up out of the water and grab you.
Yeah.
Yes. He obviously thought he was safe.
He was not safe, and as we later find out, as the camera pulls away, as the blob-like creature goes back out into the depths of the water, the camera pangs away from the car, and we see hidden in the bushes a sign that reads "No swimming." So so it's their own fault. They should have learned to read.
Cautionary tale.
But yeah, it is the one that most people talk about when they say Creepshow 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it fits into the eco horror kind of stuff of the period, and indeed it kind of prefigures. Well, I suppose that there had obviously been oil spills before, but it prefigures the old Exxon Valdez thing that happened, I think, a couple of years later, which was massive news. So people were talking about this kind of stuff more in the 80s, pollution and weird shit, which is kind of hinted at in their chats about oil slicks. It's good fun. It moves. It doesn't waste time. Doesn't hang around, and it's got those memorable fleshy, nasty, cringy, face ripping leg things going on. And then good old raft.
And then we have a bit of an interlude with the Dungeons and Dragons-esque cartoon where we come across Billy again, bullying people. Well, he's being bullied actually, and they take away his Venus flytrap thing that he got in the mail from the earlier in the episode. So, and then that's where it cuts off to bring us into The Hitchhiker, which, spoiler for later, but this is my favorite one of the 3 stories. So Stephen, do you want to take us through The Hitchhiker, which has a Bond girl in it?
Yeah, Lois Childs, right?
Yes.
Which one's she? Live and Let Die, or the other one?
Spy Who Loved Me, isn't she?
Oh, I can't remember. Yeah, I suppose she would have been too old by Live and Let Die. Yeah, she's $150 for 6 orgasms. I was trying to work out that's how much an orgasm. That's pretty good kind of rate, isn't it?
Yes. Oh, she's in Moonraker. There you go.
Ah, Moonraker. That's a mental one. Moonraker's totally bonkers. Actually, all of those Roger Moore ones are terrific fun. Especially ancient Roger. This is off tangent. Live and Let Die. The Future for Kill. With the weirdest couple of all time, Grace Jones and Roger Moore. What the whose idea?
I don't know. They seem like a lovely couple. They seem like the couple.
Chemistry's off the.
Yes, exactly. The chemistry was amazing.
So yeah, this is The Hitchhiker. It's good fun, this one for sure, and this is also really memorable. And it is an extended gag. I suppose everything like this is an extended gag, but it's Lois Childs is this rich woman with like a personalized number plate, and she's first seen with a gigolo, charging a very good rate for half a dozen orgasms. That's kind of astonishing. Pay a lot more for that round here. Jeez.
You'd think he'd be able to afford a better alarm clock.
Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
no. To be fair to him, he doesn't like the normal standard alarm
yeah,
clocks.
that's it.
He
They're
does not
too
like
ticky.
those. Exactly. He doesn't like the ticky clocks. He likes the other ticky clocks.
Yes. Yeah, it's exactly. Yeah, that's a good distinction. There's an image of in one shot you can see It, which was then a very recent book, of course, when this came out, which is quite cool. Yes, even then it still had that weird last 100 pages with the orgy between a bunch of 12-year-olds. What was he smoking? Yeah, so Sheila's she's a bit of a bitch, you know. She's one of the typical, as you were saying earlier, actually, she's a typical EC character, really, a nasty, selfish, adulterous woman that you're just waiting to see her get her comeuppance. Pretty much like maybe let's say the teenagers in the raft, although you don't really like any of them. She's a very EC Comics character, so perfect for this. She loses control of her car. She hits a dude in a yellow Mac, which is probably, I guess, a nod to past kind of images of creepy characters in Macs and horror film.
Yeah.
And he's holding a sign. He's going to Dover, isn't he? I don't know how he's going to get
Apparently
there.
so.
Yes, which I thought was a bit
It's a
weird.
long way away.
Yeah,
He's got
but apparently there is a Dover in America. So
no,
yeah. So
don't be silly. There's only one Dover.
One Dover. White.
He's not going to get there by
one
car.
Norfolk. No. He's got a long way to go. I wonder how long he'd been travelling before we got here. Because he didn't get very far.
Well, the hitchhiker is played by Tom Wright, who, if you're a sci-fi fan, would have known that he appeared in a lot of Star Trek episodes over his life. So this is like his first film being underneath prosthetics. So yeah,
and only having one line.
Yes, yes.
I like that he's so ambitious that he's not just trying to get to Dover. He ends up hitching to the Enterprise. That's pretty impressive. Oh yeah, thanks for the ride, Kirk. I know it's a different Star Trek.
Well, yes, it would have been. It would have been Jean-Luc Picard.
Ah, the less fun Star Trek. Oh yeah, so he gets creamed, and then he persistently comes back with the aforementioned catchphrase of "Thanks for the ride, lady." And yeah, she just can't shake him off.
No,
and,
to matter what she does, she runs him over multiple times, takes him through a load of trees, rams him into a tree with the car, and then she runs him over even more times later on because he pops up again.
Slams his hands in the windows and
shoots him.
Yeah. And all the time she maintains that. And the only thing she's worried about most of the time is, oh shit, how much is this going to cost to repair the bonnet or whatever?
And how can she explain? Because the key thing is that her husband is never late, so she
had 12 minutes to get home, didn't she?
So she has to be back at time. She didn't explain what would happen if she came back late and her husband would have said something. That doesn't get explained, but she has this built-in control issue with her husband that is kind of, well, he's never late, so I have to be back on time because if I'm not, then something might happen, which plays in later on as we find out. So so she's still trying to kill off the hitchhiker, who becomes more and more mangled as we go forward, and then we get towards the end where she finally arrives at her house. The hitchhiker's no more. We haven't seen him for a while. But she thinks she's okay. She drives into her house, and then she notices she drives up the driveway. Her husband's not there. The first time ever that he's ever been late. So she drives in, parks the car. As she gets out the car, the hitchhiker returns.
He's mangled. Under the car.
He is a mangly tongue, wobbly eyes, and everything. He's everywhere.
Yeah, no skin on his face.
Yes, and then the garage door starts shutting down, and the car keeps running. So of course, she's the garage is filling up with carbon monoxide, which earlier in the episode you would have seen, as Stephen briefly mentioned, Stephen King is in this, and he's the one that mentions about the hitchhiker being creamed. But the guy who's ringing on from his phone is actually the husband of this lady.
Yep.
So
Which I didn't twig to start off with.
Yeah. So it's because they have the same licensee plate type numbers and everything, and of course he's a very to-do man, and not many people would have had a phone in their car, so it kind of makes sense. So yes, he turns up and he finds the garage door shut, and that's where he finds out that his wife is dead. So that one time that he's not late, she ends up dead. Now for him, that's got to feel really gutting. Because all that time he's always on time, and that one time he comes back late, his wife dies. So,
damn it!
He's got to go through the rest of his life going, "Oh my god, I've got to make sure I'm on time because if we're not on time, something bad's going to happen.
Someone's going to die." But not.
Yeah, the special effects for this one done by Greg Nicotero and Howard Berger again.
Yep.
Which I like these effects, and I like the fact that Tom Wright was actually was originally, before he became an actor, he was going to become a stuntman. So he actually applied for SAG to have the stuntman card and become an actor, which is great because that's what they were looking for an actor for The Hitchhiker, is somebody who could act and also be a stuntman. Because all those bits where you see him clinging onto the car, and even that bit where he's on the front of the bonnet of the car and she drives off the road and heads down the street, that is actually him clinging to the front of the car. It's not a dummy.
Cool.
So it's quite cool that it was his first film, so of course I imagine most people with their first film are kind of like, I want to show passion and I want to show keenness, so I'm gonna put my life on the line. And he did. He got murdered many times, and look at his career now. He's flourished quite well, I think.
He has.
Yes. So, anybody want to say anything else about The Hitchhiker before we run down our top 4? Because obviously the wraparound is a story as well. So,
well, it's fun, isn't it? The Hitchhiker, and it's quite interesting. Maybe that it's a story where a very rich white woman spends the whole film trying to kill a black guy that she's already mown down. I think that's quite interesting, And I do like the psycho-ish bits where she's driving around and you've got her kind of on her own for much of it, obviously, as she is for the film, or most of the film, doing the Marion Crane thing of running over in her head possible scenarios about seeing the mechanic and all that kind of stuff. That's really quite a nice, presumably deliberate homage to Psycho. And the punchline's great. The punchline with the grotesque, as you said, kind of thing, tongue lolling about, eyeball on cheek thing that he becomes is again a proper, probably the closest maybe out of all of these Creepshow episodes, the closest that this has got to EC Comics at their most kind of gleefully grisly.
Yeah.
That's when I see that image at the very end. It's very kind of the stuff I associate with Tales from the Crypt in comic form, and probably in the TV series as well.
Yeah.
So that's quite cool.
So that's when The Hitchhiker ends, and of course, as Stephen briefly mentioned earlier, we have the ending of the little cartoony thing with the creep, and we see Billy has rode his bike out into the middle of nowhere, and he's had all the bullies follow him, but this is where he's been planting all his giant Venus traps from the comics he's been buying from Creepshow. So the Venus bike traps eat all the bullies, which leaves Billy quite happy, and he rides off quite happily at the end. And then we're introduced once again to the creep, who's cackling at the end, throwing out issues of Creepshow, which I imagine would have been a bugger to pick up after the end of the film, because how many issues did he throw out, and how many did he actually find? Did anybody ever find one that's floating around after the film? Somebody, film's finished and somebody walks down the road. Oh look, comic book. That's quite cool.
That would be a cool prop to have.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For sure.
But that's it. That brings us to the end of Creepshow 2. So I'm just gonna speedball through this bit. So I would say the wraparound is my 4th one, and then I would probably go Chief Woodenhead, I'll put the Raft actually, and then I'll say The Hitchhiker is my number 1 out of these 4 stories. So what is yours, Sarah?
Mine would be the same. Well, sort of the same. The Wraparound would be number 4. Then I would go The Raft, then Chief Woodenhead, then Hitchhiker number 1.
Okay. Stephen?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. The Wraparound is the last bit because it's not great. The Wraparound in the original is much better. 3, Old Chief Woodenhead, for the reasons we've said, it's okay. And it's positioned as you said really well in terms of pacing. 2, The Hitchhiker. Actually, for the top 2, I think it's quite close. The Hitchhiker I always really enjoyed. I've put that at number 2. I think it's great fun, but I do really like the kind of the Raft as number 1 because it is like a mashup of the Blob, slasher movies of the 80s, and a kind of eco horror message underneath it. So I think that's quite a nifty combo of all those things, and I think it's properly is. I just remember watching it on VHS and thinking the gory stuff was proper cringy, like ooh, wasn't expecting that kind of level of graphicness. Yeah,
that's fair. I mean, as I said, there's only 4 stories in it, so it's quite a reasonably easy one to try and sort out what your first was. But yeah, mine is always The Raft, and it's like most things. You do a top 10 list of your top 10 films of whatever, and then you think about it after a while, and you go, actually, I probably would have moved it to there. So the Raft and the Hitchhiker, it probably flip flops quite a bit for me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And they're the 2 that I always look forward to whenever I rewatch this, which has been quite a few times. I'd imagine over the years I must have seen this. I don't know, a lot of times.
But as we mentioned, Cat from Hell ended up being in Tales from the Dark Side, which would have been people describe as the actual Creepshow 3. But for those eager enough that couldn't handle enough Creepshow 2 from the 80s, they had to wait nearly 20 years for Creepshow 3. And that's exactly what they got, Creepshow 3 in 2006. Another horror anthology, which this time actually has 5 stories. So as much as the Creepshow 3 gets a lot of hate, I did like that aspect of this, is that the fact that it has 5 stories in it again. And they're reasonably short. They're not as long as the other ones. I think this one's an hour 40, about an hour 40, I think, Creepshow 3. So I guess we'll turn this over to Stephen to tell us what he remembers of Creepshow 3, because I think he's only seen it 20 times. I think he's one of his favourite films, I believe. That's what he said.
Yeah, no, it's just not even
the best film.
It's just not even a film, is it? It's like a home movie. And there's nothing good whatsoever about Creepshow 3. Some shit about a remote control that's like that. It's just terrible. It's a total loser. It's even worse than all those other. Well, it's probably as bad as, I think it's Children of the Living Dead, the Duff kind of fake sequel that John Russo did, I think. Or all those shitty films called Night of the Living Dead 3D or whatever. It's on the level with those. Day of the Dead 2.
Sure. Yeah.
Well,
this is total garbage.
This is them, isn't it?
Yeah, the same people, which makes sense because they have no talent. Whose idea was it to have these shitty stories? No, it's just terror. It's like a student project. It's not a film. It's not Creepshow 3. As always with these things, Romero or whoever got stiffed by it. They've just used the name and he got no money out of it. Yeah, it's embarrassing.
So you like it then? That's what you're trying to say?
Yeah, apart from that, it's pretty good.
Yeah, okay, cool.
It's not funny. It's trying to be funny, isn't it?
It is.
It's not.
It's described as a horror comedy.
And it's not.
No, not really. No.
It's just stupid. It's like a 14-year-old boy's. It's awful. It's offensively bad. That's it's an insult to anyone with a reasonable or even tiny bit of intelligence that this is Creepshow 3.
We'll go for a brief rundown on this one. So there's 5 stories. There's one called Alice, there's one called The Radio, Call Girl, The Professor's Wife, and Haunted Dog. Again, they're all in the EC Comics kind of style. So they kind of brought that bit back, because you don't really use much of the comic strip kind of thing in this one. Yes, the film was panned by critics, despite Stephen's complete love for the film, as you could tell there. It was actually panned by the critics. The wraparound story is, again, like I said, the horror comics kind of thing. And though this one does actually have the characters interlinking, whereas the others they didn't really come across each other. This one, they do actually have characters, or parts of the other stories do actually run into another one. So as an anthology, it works that way because there's a reason why these certain things are happening. But the first one is called Alice, which is about a very, I don't know, guess a stuck-up teenager who's, you know, got the best mobile phone, and she wants to go to the mall and buy all these things and everything, and then she comes back to her house where her dad's playing with a universal remote, this is when it becomes very much Tales from the Dark Side, because he then presses a button and then it changes the ethnicity of her family. I think it starts with he changes the color or something. Then he changes the color of the settings on the TV, and it changes her family from white Caucasian to African American. Then he puts subtitles on, and they become Spanish or Hispanic, and then does it again. And this is where you supposedly see her true form, which is this disgusting, horrid, melted down piece of nastiness, which, you know, makes sense because she comes across as a horrid person.
Yeah.
And then later on, her when she thinks her family's back to normal, her father presses another button, which then reveals Alice's true form, which apparently is a rabbit, which connects with the next story, which is Professor Dayton in the story later on, who's the mad scientist who lives down the road. So I guess it's supposed to be a kind of like Alice in Wonderland-esque type thing. I presume that's what it's supposed to be. It is very Tales from Dark Side. I can't remember what episode it is, but I'm sure it's an episode of Tales from Dark Side where a guy gets a phone call on his answering machine. Maybe correct me on this, Stephen. Isn't there an episode where there's a guy got an answering machine that keeps leaving messages for his?
That rings a bell. Yeah,
That's like It's most of these little anthology stories in this are very much in that kind of vein. So it's what can I get out of this? Where's it going to lead me? Oh, up shit's creek seems the main thing. So that was Alice. Do you have anything to say about Alice and Sarah?
No more than what you've already said. That's pretty much the story. Yeah, that's how it goes. I quite like it. I thought it was kind of funny.
It's a decent little effects on the girl. You know, where her
bubbly and gross and kind of zombie-ish.
So then it jumps. Oh, is it this one? Let's double check yes, it is this one. So this later, no, it's not. It is the next one. The next one after this. So the next one is the radio, which is a bit like the thing I just mentioned with the tape recorder from Tales from the Dark Side, where a guy picks up a radio because his current radio is dead. He's a security guard, and he picks up a new radio because his other one is busted, and he kind of rips off the homeless man because he wanted there's a thing where he could either buy a radio which has the aerial for $5 or $10. Oh no, you buy that one for $5, but he could buy the one that doesn't have an aerial for $10. And he explains to him why he can buy that one $10, because if you buy that, you can use your own bit of duct tape and a bit of wire, and you create your own aerial. It doesn't sound like a good deal to me, but hey ho, gotta make your money somehow. So he ends up ripping off the old guy, the street vendor, which, if you look carefully, you can see Eileen Dietz as a homeless person.
In the background.
Yes.
She appears a couple of times.
Yeah, she's appeared a couple of times. In this one, there's actually a crossover with the characters, which I quite liked.
Crossover, especially with the crazy homeless dude selling his wares. He's hilarious.
Oh, yes.
He has a kind of mental breakdown where he just kind of goes...
You just hired an actual completely mental person, haven't you? This is what happened to you.
Yes, that's me.
I mean, if they wanted to hire, I was perfectly available. I was available in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
Never got the call. So, yeah. So the security guard rips off the street vendor. He comes back and he finds out that his radio is talking to him, which of course you'd think first of all, whoa, what's going on? But then this radio keeps telling him to do things like go to this building and you'll find all this money. yeah, this will help your money woes. Here's loads of money. Kill this hooker, kill this person. So all that happens, and this just happens to be the same building that has a pimp in it, which we later on find out this money is actually from the pimp. And the ending of the story is that he drives off with this prostitute, the security guard, with all this money. The prostitute shoots the security guard. The prostitute gets shot by the pimp, who just happens to be at the same place. Weirdly, I'm not quite sure how he ended up in the same place, because it seems to be an abandoned building in the middle of nowhere. But hey, then you find out he has a radio too, which also talks to him. So it's like, okay, so this is, again, it's that EC comic thing of bad situation, this is your comeuppance kind of thing. And I was like, this one doesn't really make much sense, because
No,
the security guard, yes, he's a good guy, first of all, but at the same time, is he a good guy? Because there's that pimp beating up that girl in his bird plot, does nothing about it. He rips off a street vendor. So okay, that he's not a good guy anymore. Then of course he kills somebody, steals some money. So when he dies, you're like, okay. But then the prostitute dies, and then the pimp's got all the money. But surely he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
So
how does that work?
Yeah. Does it then later on become that he gets ripped off as well? Does the radio thing just keep going? What is the voice of the radio? There's no explanation for the radio.
No, that's the thing. Yeah, this is where it starts to kind of unravel itself.
Yes.
Really on a roll to start off with, but yeah, that story is a dodgy one.
So there's that. So do you want to say anything about that one?
No, I think we've said what needs to be said on that one. Honestly, doesn't make a lot of sense with talking radio.
No.
Crazy vendor.
Then it's the cool girl, which we've seen earlier in this episode, the last episode bit, because she's the hooker that's driving around in the car, which we also come across the professor, who we see later on in the thing, which is when we actually see Eileen Dietz of Pazuzu fame from The Exorcist as a homeless person who ends up dead very quickly in this film. She got a good paycheck and died very quickly. So the cool girl is a lady called Rachel, who goes to meet a guy, her newest client, called Victor. But what he doesn't realize is that Rachel is the cool girl killer, or something like that. That's what the radio calls her, isn't it? And this guy wants to be quite kinky, he wants to be tied up and everything. She doesn't tie him up, she handcuffs him to the bed. Hey ho. Then she gags him, and then she, stabs him. I think, great, okay, she's killed another person, and then she starts to hear voices. Oh no.
She goes for a shower.
Yes, she has to. See, this is one thing I did get. These police must be really crap in this town or city where they're in, because she's leaving DNA absolutely everywhere. Yeah, and they're like, well, I don't know who it was. So she has, like I said, she has a shower. She comes back, and then she finds Victor, her client, is apparently not dead. As she pulls away his pillow, he has
the weirdest vampire mouth in the world.
Yes. I don't know how he shuts it. It's very weird.
I don't know how he kept that secret.
Well, surprise! The dentist is gonna love you. Look at all those shiny teeth.
Oh yeah.
So yes, you find out he's an actual vampire, and then he kills Rachel, and he hangs her in the room, as we would have seen earlier in this episode. Is that he had killed the original house owners, because as Rachel discusses in the episode before, is that where's all the pictures of you, and he comes up with this convoluted thing of, I'm the black sheep of the family, and there's no pictures of me. Seems suspicious. And then it comes the way that he's an actual vampire. He walks out the house, and you see the professor's wife, and you see the pimps from the radio segment again. So they're all they're all crossing over, kind of thing. So that's pretty much it for that episode. Not really much else to say. to say to that other than the police are crap in that area.
Yeah, really bad. They haven't got their finger on the pulse at all. But yeah, he's kind of like trying to be like, I don't know, like a young kid, like first time type thing. Gonna treat myself to a hooker while my parents are away. I quite like the bit when the family are hanging on the wall and she walks past, doesn't even notice them. I quite like that. But yeah, the vampire mouth is, I'm guessing it's a kind of like take on Fright Night or something. Just really badly done.
Yeah.
And major discrepancy because obviously like she has her shower and he kills her, and then when you see her strung up on the wall, she's back wearing her little leather number.
I don't know. I actually quite like that. I thought that's attention to detail. They not just the killer itself, but the consistency from the filmmakers. They clearly made sure to know what was going on in the film.
Continuity. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. It was well on point. The only thing I can come up with is that the killer was like, well, I can't just leave her in a bathrobe. That's really disrespectful. I should put some clothes on her before I hang her up.
Back on. Yeah.
Give her some nice makeup as well. Do her hair.
Yeah.
I think is very conscientious vampire killer. So, did you want to take us on this next one, which is it's very 1980s kind of, or maybe like an episode of Erie, Indiana. This next episode, which is the professor's wife.
Yeah, sure. Well, you see your two former students come to the professor's house, who you've already seen in the Call Girl episode, because as she parks her car up at Victor's house, those two are then going into the professor's house. So there we go again with like the consistency of like the swap overs of the stories and stuff. But yes, they pop round to Professor Dayton's house to meet his new fiancée, Kathy. They were his favourite students. They knew he was working on some projects and stuff. They look at his wife, who's a hell of a lot younger than he is, and kind of think that was his project. That was his special project that he wanted to show them.
Yes, his project has been working on for 20 years.
She must be a robot. He's made her. So basically, he pops out for a little while, conveniently, to get a cake. That's right. He's getting a cake.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they then like try and dismantle her to find out how he's done it and stuff, and then they figure out after they've dismembered her and cut her to pieces that she's actually a human being.
She's a mail order bride.
She has like amnesia or something like that, which they like conveniently find out in the photo album after they've killed her.
Yeah, she's probably got a little piece of paper in her hand, like kidnappers. They hold a newspaper to say, proof of life. Here's today's paper. She's holding one that says amnesia. Here's the date. Yes. This is when I got it. So that's how they knew. That's the only way you can come up with it. That's the only explanation.
But yeah, they then kind of like, oh shit, what do we do? And just kind of like hide bits of her in cupboards and
microwave, cooker.
Yeah. Which I think is what they kind of stole in Benny Loves You, when Benny does his first kill.
Maybe that was their takeaway from CREEPSHOW 3.
It was their ode to CREEPSHOW 3.
Somebody will get that way, right?
But that's kind of it for that one. It's quite a short, sweet.
Well, I like the fact that she's kind of very Stepford wife kind of thing, and yes, she is acting very much like a robot. So for her acting wise, I like the fact that she's like, acting and it's the fact that she repeats some of her lines, like she's recomputing herself.
Yeah. Every time, like the bell goes off in the kitchen.
Yes. So those kind of aspects I quite liked. But yeah, I did think when they're putting all the way in the body bits and they're cleaning up, how are you going to explain all the blood all over yourself? Oh, okay, we're just going to go in a cupboard. That would explain it.
We're just going to skip that bit altogether. And the kind of at the end it says the professor later buys an advanced voodoo kit from the homeless street vendor to put Kathy back together in time for the wedding.
Yeah.
Which we don't get to see.
I also don't get how that works, because it's not really how a voodoo kit works generally. No. What's going on with this one?
But yeah, just on to the last story.
Yes.
It's just
haunted dog.
Haunted dog. Yeah. Go for it, Pete.
So this is a very miserable House-esque type doctor, so Doctor House. Well, actually, probably more like a poor man's version of House. Oh, Stephen's just had an orgasm. Yeah, apparently, it's very much like, I can't remember the doctor is there, but the guy who trained the dogs by ringing a bell. If you say House to Stephen, he comes on repeat.
Oh,
He was going to become a estate agent, but it didn't end up very well for him. It's a sticky situation for all.
I am in a bit of an estate.
Anyway, so we have a doctor, Dr. Farwell, is he's working a court ordered centres at a free clinic, possibly the worst looking free clinic possible. And rude, insolent customers and patients in there everywhere. He has no sympathy for anybody. Basically, he just wants to work his 30-day court thing, get in, get out. And he buys a hot dog at the very beginning of this episode by pushing in front of everybody. So, of course, he's a bit of an arsehole already. And drops it on the floor, completely ignores this homeless man who keeps asking him for change. And he says something like, I'll think good thoughts for you, or something like that.
Yes.
Okay, well, I won't give you food. I won't give you this. I'll give good thoughts. Something like that. But yeah, he ends up pushing in front of the queue for the hot dogs, gets the hot dog, drops it on the floor, and then he very kindly then gives it to the homeless man, because he doesn't want a dirty hot dog. He wants a clean hot dog. So he gives it to the homeless man, who takes a big old bite of it and then chokes on it. Now, I'm not entirely sure what he's choking on, because when you look at the hot dog,
gravel.
yeah, it's only very small bits of gravel. You can pass that through. Birds do it all the time. Yeah, bloody human beings.
Yep.
So yes, the homeless man dies after taking this bite. The doctor then goes off to the free clinic, where he keeps seeing customers and patients that doesn't really want to do anything for, apart from give out free prescriptions. Then it becomes a little bit sort of well, we mentioned that all the stories seem to link up with characters. This is where it becomes, oh, how are we going to get him linked into that one? Because then we got, like, he takes all the medication and takes it to this party where we see the vampire guy.
Yes.
And then he hands out all these drugs to people, but doesn't end up dying. So I presume he has a deal with the vampire, where if he brings drugs, then
drug all the people, they can kill them easier.
Yeah, potentially. So that seems to be the end reason to do that. And then again, we find out that the doctor hasn't got a very good bedside manner, because he ends up talking to a 15-year-old girl who's ends up finding out she has a brain tumor, and he just says to them that, what are you? Are you a senior or a junior? She says, I'm a junior. Well, maybe we should find you a senior party to go to, because you won't have much long left. Oh, so, well, fair enough. Seems harsh, but I see where you're coming from.
Yeah. That.
So and then what I haven't mentioned is that the doctor keeps seeing the homeless guy, a bit like the hitchhiker in the CREEPSHOW 2. So you have that bit of a connection as well, I suppose. But he keeps seeing it, and the homeless guy is deteriorating more and more as he's rotting from his mouth, which I thought was a nice little touch. Yeah, they could have had that he's dying and he could be rotting everywhere, but I like the fact that he was rotting specifically from his mouth downwards. So there was that. And then, because he's taken so many drugs, I guess it is what it is. He's taken so many drugs, he's sleepless nights, he's so much on caffeine and whatever else, and then he's scared to death by the homeless guy he keeps saying. The doctor ends up having a heart attack. And that's where it ends.
Yep.
That's it.
Nobody helps him. Everyone just everyone comes over to look, like they did with the homeless man when he was choking on his hot dog.
Yeah. Maybe he shouldn't have had mustard on it. It would be fine with that mustard. So yeah, that's how it ends. Just that.
Yeah.
I mean, well, the ending towards bit is the bit where we mentioned that we see that the homeless guy and the hot dog guy are sort of connected. The homeless guy, the hot dog guy, is the creep of this episode, as we later find out. And we see the professor having his wife who has been resurrected by the, bear in mind, voodoo doll.
Voodoo kits, yes.
He has her all bandaged up. I'm not quite sure how he managed to get her all back to life, but though he has been in that laboratory for 20 years, don't we never actually find out what he's been doing in the laboratory?
No.
He promised us we will. He lied. So then he drives off. We see him with his wife. Alistair Rabbit from the first story is sat in the back. And we hear from Alice's mum, something we didn't mention in the first episode, is that when he pressed the controller, everybody seems to have forgotten who Alice was, apart from her mum. So she believes that Alice is still a real person, but the rest of the family is still forgotten. So they have a
bad.
Yes. So then this is where the camera pulls away. We see the hot dog vendor, who then has a terrible meltdown as a CGI-esque type stuff. It's special effects kind of thing, like prosthetics, and then just comes with this horrible jam donuts kind of blood comes peering. Doesn't it really appear out of a certain part of his body? Just sort of just pulls off the top of his head. Yeah, that's where it ends. Just ends like
that. Yeah. That's bad. That is bad.
That's that.
I mean, Stephen's he is right. Creepshow 3 is the worst out of the 3.
Oh yeah.
But it's, you got to admit, Stephen, it is kind of funny.
I don't.
Just a little bit. I know the CGI is bad.
I hate it.
There are things I hate a lot worse than Creepshow 3.
Yeah. There is, but that says a lot because there's so many terrible films.
But
it's probably less offensive than Jurassic World Dominion because obviously it cost nothing and they spent a fortune and got very talented people in Jurassic Park Dominion, and it's still
actually this one because the DVD that I have of Creepshow 3 has a behind the scenes thing in it. And it cost them 3.5 million to make this film.
Jesus.
No way.
And it
that makes it worse.
Every penny spent perfectly well.
How much did The Evil Dead cost? Not much.
Yeah. No,
it's just a terrible film.
I'd say that's as much as they're rumouring the Munsters to have cost.
Yeah. I mean, could this have potentially got away with... Well, I'll put it this way for Stephen then. Sarah going to answer the same question as well. If it wasn't called Creepshow, didn't have Creepshow in the title whatsoever, it'd be like the Halloween 3 scenario. If it didn't have Halloween in the title, would people still like it? So in this one, if it was called whatever as the anthology, do you think it would have got as much slack as it did because people have not got that preconception in their head of, oh, this is a Creepshow film, so it's going to have the EC comic type stuff and it's kind of cool, Tom Savini and everything.
Probably not. No, it wouldn't have been as derided, but it would still be. I still think it was just as terrible because it's the worst kind of thing for me because I find things that try so hard to be funny when it comes to horror comedies, but are so it's just painful. It's really hard to do horror comedies. There's not that many that are actually good. But to spend that much, I didn't even know it cost like 3+ million, which is actually a lot of money for something that looks so terrible and is just talentless. There's nothing good about it. I can't even face it.
In it or anything either, is there, to warrant cast-wise and stuff to warrant that kind of a budget?
Hey, Sarah. Oh, sorry, you'll know this. How much did what's that movie? Colin. How much did Colin cost? It famously cost like a tiny amount.
50
Sorry?
quid.
Yeah, there we go. And I rest my case.
Yeah, Colin is leagues above Creepshow 3. It really is.
Yeah.
So
I'm not going to rate the stories. I'm just going to say that I think Alice is my favourite on there. The rest of them, not so much.
Yeah, they are very much this could be anything. This could be any anthology thing.
Yeah.
Really had to Creepshow, but
no,
because Creepshow, the name was out there and anybody can use it. Why not?
Well,
So they did.
I do like the fact that they carry the stories into each other.
Yeah, I like that. I like that element.
Character. I quite like that.
As opposed to it being like, here's a bunch
Completely
of
different.
short films that
Yeah,
have been
yeah.
chucked into an anthology with the potential of, oh, they might all have the same kind of thing going. Oh no, they don't. It's just a bunch of short films shoved in a film.
Yeah, it has that going for it.
But it does lose the aspect of the EC Comics thing of
Sure.
these people having their comeuppance. Yeah, the bad person has their comeuppance. They may look like they're the bad guy at the beginning. Will they get their comeuppance at the end? There is episodes in it where you're like, that didn't really like the one with the pimp.
Yeah, the radio one. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Everyone was bad.
So what?
And the worst one out of the three of them got away with it.
Yeah.
How does that work? Doesn't go with the aesthetic, no.
No. So yeah, like we said, there's other elements like the call girl one. The police are crap in that area because I think they said that she's killed like 10 people already. What the hell are you doing? We've seen she's having a shower, and she clearly drives around in the same car all the time. So I don't know how you can see her.
Yeah, she blatantly killed the homeless lady. Like probably many witnesses around.
What was that? And there's also she buys the same knife. Usually,
it's full of knives.
All you got to do is go, who's been on Amazon and bulk buy? Oh, I'll buy 20 of those for £5. No, I'll get it today then. Oh, get it by tomorrow. Excellent. So you got that, and then the professor's wife, an advanced voodoo kit. What does that mean? Does that mean that if somebody's dead, that you can then stitch them back together by the power of voodoo?
I'm guessing so.
I'm not a Hayton person, so I wouldn't know fully complete capacity. I have a reasonable aspect of what voodoo is, but last I checked, that's not how voodoo works. I think I told you this story once before, but me and my kids were walking around the village one day, nighttime, and there was a box down by the phone box, and we was like, hey, someone's emptying the house to give away free stuff. This middle of COVID, and in that box was these things that amused us. There was a cup, the Queen, whatever Jubilee thing it was. There was a VHS tape of Cliff Richard's greatest hits. Yes.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
That wasn't the bit that made me laugh. It was the fact there was a voodoo kit. There was an actual book about voodoo in this box. And he's like
royalty, Cliff Richard, and voodoo.
Well, that's what I said to my daughter. I said, "Nothing in there we could potentially do anything with, is there?" And I said, I'm a little bit concerned about this person because they're clearly a royalist. They love Cliff Richard, and they're doing voodoo. So
this is worrying.
And the next day we went past. The Cliff Richard VHS was still there, the cup was still there, but the voodoo kit was gone. It made me chuckle. So that's what I thought of when I saw the voodoo episode of this. So yes, there's that bit, and then the haunted dog thing is not really an episode of anything. It's just, well, we know he's going to get his comeuppance because he comes across as an asshole anyway, so something's going to happen to him.
Yeah, and the ghost of the homeless guy isn't actually that scary.
No, it's very much like late 80s, early 90s Tales from that side kind of thing. We put some Vaseline over this part of the screen.
The camera.
Oh, look, spooky. It's a blurry. No, that's like a 1970s porn film. This is not what I wanted to look for. No. But yeah, I think as there's probably the only one that I would go, quite like that, is the radio, because it just amused me because it's very much a Tales from the Dark Side episode, but shoved into a film. But other ones of them, I wouldn't be that fussed about watching. I don't know if do you have the DVD of this, Sarah?
Yes.
On your one, do you have the option of watching each episode individually?
Oh, I don't think so.
I thought that was quite cool on mine. I was like, so if I wanted to watch this again, don't want to watch any of the shite ones, I'd just put the DVD in.
Just watch the one you want.
Yeah, just watch one I want to watch. So other than that, but yeah, it is very much it's an inane kind of thing. It probably wouldn't be it probably wouldn't even be mentioned by anybody if it wasn't for the fact it had Creepshow on it.
Yeah, sure.
So, you got anything else to say about this, Sarah? I'm sure Stephen has.
Yeah. I think we've said enough about Creepshow 3. No more
Okay.
needs to be said.
Okay, in that case then, well, I guess we'll have a brief mention of the TV series then.
Yes, the TV series is great. Have you guys all both watched it?
Stephen?
Oh, only some of it. Like, I don't know. I've lost track of it. I haven't watched it for ages.
You watched
Are
the
they-
first season, didn't
Definitely the first season, yeah.
you? Yeah.
Are
Well,
they on
Maybe the
series,
second?
they on series 4 now? Is that what they're doing now?
Oh, gosh.
I think.
Season 4 hasn't come out yet. That's coming out this year. But yeah, 3 seasons in now.
Yes.
Have you watched it, Pete?
I've only watched the first series. I haven't watched the other ones yet. But this is one of them ones that's kind of weird. I'm not quite sure who would actually release this on Blu-ray or DVD in the UK. Because in America it's come out.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure
yeah.
who would release it out over here.
I would totally buy it if they did. I really like it. I mean, it's more in keeping with the original than, say, 2 and 3. Or I suppose it's kind of a cross between the two, I suppose, between original and 2, when it comes to like the creep.
Yes.
I'm trying to think off my head. It does use a little bit of animation, but it's more practical kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Back to the original creep and stuff, but it's not as good.
No.
Some of the stories hit amazing. Some of them you kind of forget about. There's in the first one, there's quite a good werewolf one, if I remember rightly, and it has like a cool little like alien monster type one, which is really cool. Which has DJ Quails, how to pronounce his name? Who's in
The Finger.
The Finger.
Yeah.
The one, yeah, that's cool. But season 2, episode 1, has just got the best episode ever. That's the Ted Raimi Evil Dead one, which is genius. Which have you watched that, or have you both just watched the first season?
No,
Yeah,
I've definitely seen. You see, I think I've seen up to the one with the guy with the who's kind of disappears into the TV, the Late Show one. I've seen up to that one, and I've definitely seen the Ted Raimi one. Yeah.
Yay!
Which was good. Yeah, I like that one.
That was absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. The one after that, the pest control one with Josh McDermott was also really good as well.
Yeah. Yes.
Season 3 didn't have anything quite as amazing. I think they kind of like they kind of like overdid themselves with the Evil Dead one, I think, because they could never do one quite as great as that. But season 3 had some good ones. It had like a crazy wasp bee insect alien pop singer type thing, which is kind of weird. But the specials they did were also brilliant. Did you both see the Halloween one?
Was that
The animated
2020, 2019? Or have they done another one?
The Halloween, they've only done one Halloween one. I'm trying to think when that was. It must have been then. It was the one with...
I think the animated ones, they did a holiday special one as well.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, with Kiefer Sutherland voicing.
Yeah.
And then Joe Hill wrote the second story about the undead circus.
Oh, I've not seen that. I've definitely not seen those. No animation. I've seen the one with the self-help group.
Yeah, he's in the Christmas one, the Christmas special.
That's the only special I've seen. Yeah.
Were animals, the were tortoise and the were pig.
It'd be interesting to see how far they can take this, because as a film, Creepshow, brilliant film. Creepshow 2, I like that film. Creepshow 3, say what you want about that. Everybody's got their own opinions on that one. But it's definitely one of them things that you can go, that could easily be made into a TV series. Why it's taken, nearly 40 years from the first one to actually go, make a TV series out of that. Though you could argue that's basically what Tales from the Dark Side is, just without the creep.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird that it's only taken this long for someone to go, we can make a TV series out of that. It's a simple thing, because what's there, 2 episodes per 2 stories in an episode usually.
Exactly, and they're not they're not like overly long. You know, they're not like your usual hour like episodes and stuff. They're about 45 minutes, which is cool for two stories.
Yeah, they don't overstay their welcome. They're about right,
Yeah,
which was always the
my
Twilight
favourite
Zone length.
series. Yeah, it's
There's a good one.
favorites.
Oh, so sorry.
You're right.
There's a good one which is a Joe Hill one as well, which is a really low key one about the lake monster. I like that one. That's season 1, I think.
Yeah, they do a kind of really cool like 50s monsters one as well, don't they? With Gilman and stuff like that.
Yes.
I remember which season that is.
That's right. Yeah, I've seen that one.
It's very nostalgic.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, it's okay. It's a good show. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's like all of them. It's, you know, there's a couple that stand out. There's a few that tick the box. There's a few kind of forgettable ones, but that's everything, including the original Twilight Zone. You know, there was some kind of unmemorable ones in there. It's a classic show, but the great ones you remember, and then obviously they have to maintain a lot of episodes.
Well, Masters of Horror, that's another prime example. Great series, but there's probably a few episodes in it you kind of like.
Yeah, there's a Dodgy J horror one which goes on forever, isn't there, on the ship?
Yes.
Jesus.
Yep.
What on earth were they thinking? Yeah, but the rest, you know, there's some great ones. Yeah.
So this is, I guess you can kind of argue this is basically that. Creepshow is TV series is basically Masters of Horror, but with the Creepshow name jumped on it, because the amount of people that's involved in this, it probably had some aspect involved with Masters of Horror anyway.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, it's more horror on television.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, streaming.
Yeah. Well, that's it. In the 80s, when Creepshow was out, you could count them, couldn't you? On your, well, it depends where you live. I suppose in Norfolk we could count them on one hand.
There's 15 shows. Christ.
Hang on a minute. Oh, I lose count after 8.
You've lost a finger.
But you know, when things like, and actually it wasn't that good, but things like Freddy's Nightmares and Monsters and the Friday the 13th series and Tales from the Dark Side, there was about half a dozen. The Hitchhiker I don't think we had over here, but that was an HBO one.
Well, Monsters is another one of them.
Similar.
People don't really mention it, but that's pretty much another American sitcom kind of. Would it been as good if it was just, you know, non-people not in masks? So it's a normal American family. So that's one of its kind of pulls was, oh, is this Monsters?
Yeah, that was the gimmick. Amazing Stories ventured into horror a bit occasionally. There's a really good one. It was the Spielberg thing, wasn't it? There's a really good one called Mirror Mirror. I think it's called. Maybe that's not right. Mirror, maybe. Directed by Scorsese, I think, which is really scary, about a horror author that sees something in a mirror. Is it like a kind of death figure? I can't remember, but he's tormented by this figure that he sees in the mirror, and it has a great sucker punch ending. And there's a kind of severed head comedy horror one about a teacher, which maybe was done by either not Joe Dante, maybe Robert Zemeckis, I think. But yeah, Amazing Stories, the few times it tipped into horror, you're like, wow, horror on TV, that's a novelty. This will never be a regular thing. And now there's like 400 horror TV shows, because there's so many platforms now, including Shudder, and presumably this kind of thing will come back. Tales from the Dark Side might come back. Twilight Zone has already come back from Jordan Peele.
Yes.
Which I tried to watch, and I was like, oh, this is taking a long time. It was like I watched the remake of the classic Nightmare at 30,000 Feet with the gremlin on the plane, and it went on forever. It was like, instead of, like you said, the great thing of Creepshow is 2 episodes in one, 20 minutes each, but this was like almost an hour for one story. So I kind of didn't give it another shot. But I haven't
actually watched any of that yet.
It's a bit weird, and Jordan Peele is great, but he kind of pops up in there. I don't think he's writing them. He's the host, so he turns up like Rod Serling. I don't think he's necessarily that much involved creatively, which maybe makes sense if they're not too good. But I only saw just that one. Who knows what mad shit they could be putting in there.
There is that thing of, I'm sure it was, Spielberg's Amazing Stories, where there was an episode that was called Batteries Not Included, and Spielberg liked it that much that he decided to turn it into a film. I quite like the film.
That's right. Yeah, I remember the film. Yeah.
Well, it's a bit like, as we will potentially somewhere online talk about the Final Destination films, the first one is based on a unused episode of The X-Files.
Oh yeah, because it's Glenn Morgan and James Wong, isn't it? It's those two, who are great writers. Yeah,
it was an episode that they written, but they was like, this is going to cost too much to make, so it just got kind of shelved.
It is very X-Filey.
Yes,
including it looks like, was it shot in Canada as well? Because it looks very much like one of those things. There was that great episode of Amazing Stories called Secret Cinema, which is pretty much the Truman Show but made 15 years earlier. I remember that one. There's been some great ones. There's that fantastic episode of the Twilight Zone, 80s Twilight Zone, called The Shadow Man, where the whole thing is there's a kid that's got a shadow man living under his bed, and he said, I'm the Shadow Man, but I only kill.
Are you sure, Stephen? Is this just not something that you're remembering now?
Shadow Man, Shadow Man lives under my bed. Oh wait, because he keeps me warm if I'm cold.
Are you sure, Stephen?
And if I'm hot, he pulls me off. I mean, he pulls my cover off. That's the Shadow Man, right? Yeah. Perhaps not. Anyway, excellent. Well, yes, that is a rummage through the CREEPSHOW universe, which I did due to a few problems I had to miss out.
Yes.
Which I'm sure won't be noticed.
Unfortunately, Stephen, you didn't miss out on CREEPSHOW 3. You managed to come back just in time. Congratulations.
There was so much joy from CREEPSHOW 3. I hope those same people do a 4. So the good news is there's going to be more coming in the month of August, when we will be discussing something completely different, which is a compare and contrast, versus, which is The Last House on the Left, the classic horror movie from John Craven, Wes Craven.
No, John Craven, I remember him making that rape revenge film. I haven't got time for this kids' TV show. I've got to make a rape revenge film.
The thing is that all those people tuning in for Wes Craven's news round. Yes, Wes
Here's
Craven.
the news, kiddies.
Wes Craven's Last House on the Left, and its remake from 2009-ish.
Yes,
looking at both of those, a very key modern horror film versus one of the several kind of big Hollywood remakes of 70s stuff that came out. Both interesting films, I think. So we shall be chewing over those at the end of August.
Versus films. Versus.
Yeah, I think that's good. We'll be picking our favourite as well. Who knows? It might be some surprises there.
I spit on your grave.
Oh, it's not very nice. I mean, you could at least wipe it off. Oh, that's spit, is it? Yes. There'll be more cum jokes next time. But yeah, until next time, thanks very much for joining us, Sarah.
Not at all. Looking forward to the next one. It's been a good one.
Marvellous. Thanks for joining us again, Peter Barbara Hopkins, OBE.
You're welcome, Stephen. Don't touch him there, West.
That's actually my maiden name. Yes, excellent. I was a fair maiden back in the day. Changed a bit. Age is a terrible thing.
Still got the hairy back.
Actually, yes. Just checking.
And the hairy nipples.
Oh, I shaved those things down. The third one is a bit dry.
I'm glad, Scaramanga, you have sorted that out, because I don't fancy flossing my teeth every time I'm sucking on your lips.
I do have really sensitive nipples. That's no joke. Actually, I can almost. Anyway, yes. So see you next time. Thanks, everyone. And it's goodbye for now.
Bye.
Bye.